Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's awesome to be back. Thank you, Mauro, for hosting such an amazing event, and everyone sitting down in the room. So if you've seen me present before, you know it's a lot of facts, it's a lot of numbers in very short time. At the end, there will be a QR code that most people will be able to scan and download the PDF. It's okay. And me and my colleague Oxio here, we can ask questions as well. So don't panic, okay? Now, big stories, turning them into more narrow, and definitely we'll touch on the troubled and the challenging areas around the world. The short notice on supply I want to make is that reminder that we are now at the low point of this cycle of releasing new hotel rooms around the world at 1%. So towards the end of the decade, we will see more things happening. And when you look at Asia and Vietnam as well, 11% of new rooms over existing this year looks a lot, but it's come down. So all over the world, it's slowing down with new supply. And that's going to help with performance. And that demand, which obviously means people actually staying in hotels, have started to grow a little bit over this year. So it's pretty much the same as last year, but behind that global number is a huge variety. India is growth over growth over growth. Broad growth everywhere. China is the opposite. Growth finally, after 18 months of decline, starting to turn that corner, which takes time. And in US and Europe, a little bit more subdued, 1 to 2%. And by the way, those numbers are before March 1. We'll get into that. Rate-wise, the light blue bubbles tell the story of lower rate growth around the world, but you have pockets of things changing, like this 7%. Who's that? Of course it's Vietnam. Of course it's all about here. The last couple of years, it's been Japan over there, and now it's Vietnam. So the growth has been something that everyone around the world looks at, but of course it matters when you look at the actual numbers. If you do this, please remember that Vietnam is not like Korea and Cambodia. There are many factors that play in, the size of the market, the composition, and the cycle. But I think seasonality is maybe the more interesting point for Vietnam. Because if you compare 3 months in time over 12, make a huge difference for a couple of markets. Thailand, the difference is 27%. Thailand looks great if you look peak season, but it has an extreme dip in when you come to low season. Vietnam, a little bit less, but it's still there. But if we take a step back and look at the last year, or the last 12 months up until the end of February for now, what's happening around this region, more markets are finding where they used to be after many years. Japan, Singapore up there at 80%, Vietnam moving up towards 65%, and will eventually get up there at 70% as well. It's moving in that direction, because it's moving so much quicker than everyone else. Double-digit growth in Vietnam, our other markets sitting there around single-digit growth in terms of occupancy. So Vietnam stands out not just for that, but also, of course, the rate. What stands out for Vietnam is that it's growing across all classes. You might in one market see luxury, not so much in economy more. In Vietnam, it's across all types of hotels. So Vietnam is in a zone, and I'm nervous because tonight my Sweden will play for a chance in the World Cup. And when you're in the zone, like my good friend, I like to think, Zlatan, he's not playing anymore. But when you're in the zone like Vietnam is now, what does that impact on markets? So let's have a closer look at that. And everyone's talking about Phu Quoc, not just here, but around Southeast Asia. Now, when you have this kind of growth, 25% growth of occupancy year over year, clearly a huge signal. Please remember that it was only a few years ago the actual occupancy was lower than that. It's come a long way in this recovery and growth, and now it has all this rate growth as well, and then along the coastline as well. So the question we ask ourselves, with these lines going up and up and up, can these markets compete with markets that have had tourism for decades longer than Vietnam? Well, it's actually already happening, and this is a good story, where Phu Quoc, in the first month of this year, had higher occupancy than Phuket. Which is funny, because a lot of the snowbirds that come from Europe can't pronounce Phuket, so they say Phuket. Now they can go to Phu Quoc. It's kind of the same, just a different island. That's how we see it, but it's got higher occupancy as well. And when you bring that into revenue, the difference between Phu Quoc and Phuket is very small, and it's dramatically shrinking for every peak season we see. So it shows that a market here that is still relatively new to overseas and long visit people coming in is narrowing. So that makes me think about what markets, what kind of people are staying. Is it high-end or? So I started comparing luxury across Vietnamese destination with other hotel classes. And what you'll see is, in Hanoi and along the coast, luxury has higher occupancy. But that is changing in most markets, not just tonight, because the growth is happening in other classes. And this is the story of all the new supply that all the owners and developers are putting, the most branded country in Southeast Asia soon, right? So all this growth is happening outside luxury. Vietnam needs everything from backpackers hostel to a luxury hotel. That is what we're seeing in the next year before the end of the decade. Now, if you look at the trend, this is the first quarter of the year across these markets. You see some of the spikes there for certain dates. What matters when you bring in last year and compare the first quarter from that year to this year, what matters is, of course, how much closer we are to that. And I suppose the difference is really we are seeing higher highs and you're increasing the lower parts of it. And that's what matters. Because in Vietnam, you can only grow when you have, 80%, 85% occupancy in those markets. It's what you do on low season and shoulder season, where Thailand is struggling. That's the thing to look out for this year. I'm really excited. More people than ever are looking at P&L in our product and asking the right questions and not just the top line. So that's awesome, because productivity has increased like we've never seen before. So owners and brands and everyone in this complex society is looking at across the whole spectrum of data now, which is great. The cost has been lower to manage hotels here than we've seen in some other markets. And if you just look at the growth, like driven by Fukuoka, of course, at 10% in January on GOP margin, can that continue? I think it can in pockets of markets for sure. So I love have more owners in this country particularly are looking at both sides of it. Another layer I like to look at is business on the books. So not searching, but what is on the books right now. And if we compare just the next quarter, which is the volatile quarter if you look at the news, so Ho Chi Minh is 3% down from last year. So same time last year, what's on the books? So a little bit there could be of cancellations. We're seeing similar things in Phuket. But here, towards the end of the year, all that has been corrected, and we have a neutral, so we have a flat year end. And I think that's a pretty good sign. Otherwise, on weekday, it's more about the weekend growing the business here in Ho Chi Minh. But let's get back to the challenges and end with that. Because if you have the same challenge over and over, it's great. You know how to attack it. You know what to do. But unfortunately, that's not the case. It's not the case that this challenge is going to be the same. You might know that, okay, the timing, we don't know about it, but you don't know the pace of this. So let's dig into some of the data around Middle East and how that impacts. Because travel will obviously come back in all these cases, but there are three layers to this that we've studied recently. One is, of course, hotels in the region. So that's domestic business, regional, and the inbound, how it impacts the hotels. First, what you learned, which is kind of COVID-related, is how it impacted the hotels. If you look at the international markets, like these ones, 5 days, first you got the spike, right? Spike of hotels, they can't leave. No flights, so they stay, and then a little bit of airspace opens, and they all depart, and you're down to 2% occupancy in a couple of days. Less international markets, you have Muscat and Oman. That airline, there was some diversion of travel through Oman, but otherwise it took a little bit longer for those markets to then empty and then go down to low occupancy as well. Normally, when Eid and Ramadan ends, the time of celebration, and it's going to go back to good hotel business. Not the case. Instead, on the pickup pace, we see for all of these markets, lower and lower occupancies ahead happening. And if you look at Dubai throughout Ramadan, you end up in a not so happy place at the end of it. That's the imminent thing. And what can we compare with? Well, listen, war and pandemic are the two worst things for anything in hotel performance. So let's do that comparison. It's very similar. This is just even sharper. Now, it's even sharper on the downside, but we think on the flip side, this can be even sharper on the upside. We learned from COVID that coming back in the Middle East was quite quick, and we think that can happen again as soon as we have a resolution. Second part is, of course, the outbound business. Anyone who's reliant on Middle Eastern travelers, you want them in your hotels. Turkey, 1 in 5 nights come from Middle East. That's a big impact. Over here, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam as well, lower because they'll impact. You can have one hotel that is 20% dependent on Middle Eastern, and that will have an impact. But generally, as a market, not so much. But we're seeing markets like Maldives first had massive cancellations. So not just the oil price for the seaplanes, but generally. So that impacts, but Maldives has actually started picking up in the last week or so a little bit better again. Third layer is, of course, the global travel. Because it's a travel hub, and your snowbirds from Europe are going to go to Vietnam and Thailand and Indonesia, and they booked Emirates or Qatar, and that could be a challenge. So we're starting to see how that happens. Back to my point earlier, Phuket, business on the books is 3% lower than last year. And that was not a great quarter last year. Long term, though, nothing is really saying anything. So if it could only be a one-quarter impact, we're not in the White House, we don't control it. So my message is always, control what you can do and wait for the news. But our hotel performance analyst that does our forecast, this is on February 26th, she's happy. February 28th, she's not happy because we put out our forecast. Now, how much will this impact all of your markets? So outside the GCC in Middle East, a lot. But we're not seeing a huge effect so far in Southeast Asia. It's a safe haven now, right? And also, you have to remember, when you read about the oil price or gold price, we have not, in this 25 years of the data, seen a direct correlation between petrol prices and hotel demand. It's, of course, if oil prices impact inflation and more economic factors, then it will impact. But the correlation is not causation everywhere. So you can download there on that QR code and pretend to listen to me while I wrap it up. Listen, I think hotels in Vietnam can increase profitability this year even as revenues go down, because the cost base is different here. It's going to be tighter, and it requires a lot of operational excellence, but it can still happen. Secondly, travel patterns are not the same. They're not fixed. They're going to be fluid. It's going to continue to be fluid for the next 4 or 5 years. You've got to be very diligent in how you work with that. Southeast Asia is the new safe haven. It's not Middle East anymore. Air capacity is up 11% from last year to Vietnam. It continues to drive people in here. And remember, you've seen the example of Phuket. It's happening. You can grow these destinations quite quickly these days. And overall, I think the performance is going to be low and slow, 1 to 2%, barring any other unforeseen events. Thank you very much and enjoy the event.
Thank you so much, Jesper. Next presentation will be about Vietnam real estate and hospitality. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Hieu, CEO of VinaLiving.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be here again. Short introductions about myself. I run a company called VinaLiving. We are part of the Vina Capital Group for the last 15 years. We specialize in developing hybrid products that blended the features of both residential and hospitality segments. I was invited by Mauro and the team to deliver the keynotes about before Christmas. I remember it was beginning of December. And since that day, this is the third presentation that I did. This again, just to show you how unpredictable and how volatile the environment and how fast it changes over the course of only the last 3 months. I remember in December, gas price was 19,000 dong. And today is more expensive than beer. Big difference. So my presentation today, it's probably focusing about relooking the previous year, what happened, and trying to envision what's coming in the next 12 and 24 months, a little bit longer than that. Also share with you the thought of a new destinations or hospitality market, which is Ho Tram, which is one of the key topics of the conference today as well. So let's look back to 2025. I've been in the business for 20 years, and 2025 probably the most happening year where we witness key changes to the market that permanently changed the way that entire nations operate, not just the industry itself. If you remember the same time of I think Q1 last year, we all talk about tariff. Today, it's not even making the headlines anymore. We started the year 2025 with over 60 provinces in Vietnam, and we end up with just half of them this year. The entire administration system changed. There's no longer district level administration, which means the entire process of getting project approval and developments also has to change. The number of law and legislations passed last year was record high. It's more than 5 years combined. Other headlines that we can see, I'm not trying to capture the whole market. Apparently, last year, we witnessed a huge surge in apartment price starting from the north, and then it impacts the south as well. In the last 24 months, apartments in certain locations has tripled and easily doubled. The average increase about 50%. We talk about nowadays not the small-scale project development. Vietnam is driving mega, giga projects. I mean, we're talking about not 5, 10 hectares, 1,000 hectares, 10,000 of products. The scale of developments way surpasses our regional landscape. We also, there's a few keywords and taglines here, and I believe it's all familiar with you. We're talking about TOD, Transit-Oriented Development. At last, the government's now focus on developing the inner metro systems and allowing high plot ratio for metro stations and surrounding radius around that, which helps a lot with developer increasing the plot ratio and bringing more products to the market. We also talk about a lot about BT, a lot of highway has been built. Social housing, affordable housing is also recently making a lot of headlines. We're talking about the changes at land law. Fundamentally, like I said, change the way the project is developed, the land structures is determined, the land use fee is determined. It's more clearer framework now. And of course, just like the previous presenter just presented, we will talk about Phu Quoc, how it's outperforming miraculously, resurrected from the hospitality market, becomes probably the hottest destinations in the country right now. Tourism has a fantastic years. We have a record high number of international arrivals into Vietnam, and people start to say we soon surpass Thailand, becomes the top leading regional destinations for international arrivals. We also talk about IFC, which is International Finance Center. Vietnam has determined to turn itself into one of the regional hubs of finance and picked Ho Chi Minh City and Da Nang as the pilot development cities to be the regional hubs for finance and investments. And of course, let's not forget about the elephant in the room. I checked my bank applications 3 days ago, and I heard a notice that my lending rate, floating, just increased to 12%. 6 months ago, it was 6%. So it's double lending rate. And getting financing from the bank, getting the credit lines, it was much, much more difficult than before. And of course, how can we forget about what happened 4 weeks ago, the Iran war? So today, I just want to deep dive a little bit more into the two elements here that I think will have the most profound impact on the market, which is the credit line tightening and Iran war. Let's talk about credit lines. In late December last year, the State Bank Vietnam issued instructions to all the commercial banks to cap the credit growth of commercial banks, in specific for the real estate sector, with the purpose to reduce the exposure of the credit systems to the real estate. So I did this analysis using a mind map structure, and I'm not an economist, to be honest, and I did this with a little help with my friends called ChatGPT. So this is what it tells me. If you reduce the credit lines, what happens? Inflation will go up, lending rate go up already, just like I told you, buyer sentiments will go down, and liquidity of the market, which is the amount of M2 supply in the market, will reduce. What happened next? Lending rate and inflations will push up the building costs. I think if you are a developer presenting this forum, it's not unfamiliar that you have heard from your contractors crying out loud about the surging labor costs, material costs, especially imported materials. We're talking about not 5 or 10% increase, 25, 30%, and in certain cases, double the prices. Cap rate will increase. And the secondary market price, if the sentiment of the buyer is weak, secondary price of the properties will drop. If liquidity goes down, NPL, which is non-performing loan, will go up, and banks will need to dispose more asset. At the same time, the valuations of the property, because of the cap rate is high, will reduce, and the margin of developers will also be squeezed. The only two positive news I got from these equations from ChatGPT is that developers were likely to reduce the ticket size, especially in the residential market, to be more affordable so that they can find the demand. And also they'll be more flexible in terms of payment terms. And in the last 4 to 6 weeks, by observing the recent launch campaigns of major developers in Vietnam, we already seen this phenomenon, which is developers, even the major ones, are reducing their products into a bracket below 10 billion dong per product and stretching out the payment term so that buyers do not have to use leverage as soon as they can. So that's an overall look, just one factor, and what is the domino effect that it can cause. And if we combine this with the second factor, which is the Iran war, it's just making a lot more worse, especially from inflation perspective and input costs, and the same impact, especially with the hospitality market, fuel supply. We're not talking about fuel price increase, but the plane will not have enough plane jet fuel to fly. So airlines has to cut the number of flights. Construction sites, especially infrastructure, does not have enough diesel in order to run the machines. So travel costs will increase, and it will have impose some threat to the occupancy as well as the valuations of the properties in the hospitality market. Now, I'm trying to take it in a nutshell, what is the overall impact of all these elements into the market, and trying to envision in the easiest way to understand. What happens here is, I'm trying to present, let's imagine this pie chart is the cake of all the gross profit of the real estate market. And over the last couple of years, I think except for the short period of between 2022 and 2023, we have about 10 years bull run in terms of property price. And developers benefit a lot. So they take the majority of the pie in terms of profit. Investors and lenders taking major cut about that as well because they enjoy from the escalation in terms of price and the capital requirements to fund into development. The government itself has quite a small piece of that because the land price is normally valued at a reasonable price compared to the market. Now, what happens next after all of the impacts of credit line tightening, the Iran war, and so on? The bad news is the total size of the pie likely to get smaller, and what I call is redividing the pie. Developer margins, like the previous analysis, margin go down, so the total profit will go down. The government shares stay constant, but apparently the share of the pie will get bigger. Buyers now hold the power. The buyers can bargain, can get a better pricing, can get a better payment terms, and better same products at a better price. Lenders will also take a bigger piece of this because they have, like I said, banks who has money to lend hold a lot of power with developers these days. And eventually, what happens? And this is a part of what I try to predict. I cannot predict, don't ask me when the world gonna end. And just try with ChatGPT, it didn't give me the answer as well. But I think all of these elements will force the markets into going back and trying to solve the very much fundamental problems of the market that we either intentionally or ignorantly trying to ignore over the last 10 years. For example, for the residential market, the matter of affordability of products, people never talk about that because selling luxurious and high-end premium product was so profitable, everybody's doing that. And as long as you can sell, as long as people still can buy, why would you care about affordable products? There's no solutions for a long-term financing scheme as well. For home buyers across the region in any developed country, you have a very sustainable mortgage plans that should last about at least 20 years for normal working class people can buy home at a stable interest rate. Vietnam has absolutely absence from the fixed lending rate products. There's nothing. All lending products in the banks are now floating, and you are totally exposed to the surge of interest rate like now. And there's fundamental policies that you can find overseas that's completely absent in Vietnam, like tax incentive, like if you get deductible from your mortgage interest, from your personal income tax, and you have social housing. We do have social housing, but look at the number of social housing products has been delivered over the last 10 years. That's fractions of the demand there is. And in the hospitality market, the more fundamental problem that we're looking at is supply management. Now, why I'm talking about supply management? Every time there is a trend in terms of travel, Vietnam built very fast. And Phu Quoc is a typical example. Phu Quoc was overbuilt over the last 10 years. Just now, it gets the traffic that the demand will answer. But every key tourism city in Vietnam, there's overbuilt. So government should have a better job in terms of planning, in terms of how many rooms you are putting out to the market every year, given your occupancy rate. You should focus on a more value chain, content, and culture as a core products of tourism, not hotel rooms. I think apparently, if you look at Phu Quoc, there are leading corporations who were very successful because they create tourism products. It's not just hotel rooms. It's not just about a nice hotel, but what kind of shows you put for people, what kind of food, what kind of entertainment activities you build as a package and attract people into your destinations. It's about create a destination. 2 years ago I was here, I was talking about that. The last part of my presentation, I asked Mauro why you are asking me about this, but I think he's nice. He's given me 5 minutes to promote the products that we're developing in Ho Tram. 1 minute. Okay, so I'll be quick. So Ho Tram. Ho Tram, as some of you might know, has been known as a local destination market. It takes 3 hours from the Tan Son Nhat Airport to get to Ho Tram, but everything about that about to be changed. The new international airports will open the end of last year. The new highway will connect it from the Long Tan Dầu Giày market. The Bến Lức Long Tan, which is connecting all the Mekong Delta regions to Ho Tram, will finish by the end of this year as well. And the coastal road is expanding. You're talking about the largest catchment areas from the south toward the only competitor you have is Phu Quoc, 300 kilometers with 20 million populations domestically, just one beach to be compete. And for the first time, it will become an international destination because the connectivity to the international airport will reduce from 3 hours down to about 40 minutes. And for Ho Tram, we have the chance to do it right this time. It's not like Da Nang, not like Nha Trang. Over 30 kilometers of the beach, only 20% developed. We have 80% chance to do it right this time to develop the right ecosystem with adequate activities, adequate destination attractions in order to provide tourists with a meaningful trips rather than just hotel rooms, as I said. And we are proud that we are leading this trend and trying to create one of the largest destinations Ho Tram is called the Grand Ho Tram Strip. Thank you, everyone. I'll put my thing.
Thank you, anh Hieu. If you want to get a good deal from him, he will be around. Before moving to the next section, we would like to invite you to watch a video from our hosting partner, An Kung. Thank you for your attention. Now let's take a broader look to the Vietnam and global hospitality outlook and trends. I would like to invite back on stage Mauro, Senior Director, Head of South Asia from Savills Hotels.
Thank you, thank you. I think we are running out of time, so I will squeeze it up for you today a little bit, and we have a lot of other great speakers. And also, I think Jesper has much more information than me. Hieu is much smarter than me, so I will need to make it up with animation. But stay with me. Okay, so we know the story already of the demand. So the flying arrival, we know we had a great time pre-COVID, 25% average increase in everything. COVID arrived, we start from zero, but we had an amazing local market grow right after COVID. And then from that moment, it was all the way of 30% every year international arrival. So we did extremely well. We know we are the number one for Chinese, we are the number one for Korea, we have a very great growth of Russian market back and Indian market back. So everything was fantastic. Everything was really good until 4 weeks ago, when we don't really know where the things could go up to here. I'm not here forecast, but there are a lot of people here today that tell you where to go. Now, but what is happening is that we start to feel some familiar phrases like flight cancellation, fear of travelers, grounded plane, everything that was back at the COVID time. And that's scary because some of the ghosts of COVID could come back to the industry. But this is, again, a lot of things will be discussed later. I want to move away from what we cannot control to see what we can control, which is supply. That's also another great story for us. Pre-COVID, we were on fire. You know, 20, 30% pipeline, hotel, one after the other were opening. Then after COVID, something happened, we decreased it a lot. Less than 5% supply until this year. So in the last 5 years, really little new hotel opening, kind of boring. But from this time, we know that the pipeline is getting much more exciting. So we are looking back into the 10% growth year on year. So the hotel, and a lot of them are here, are coming back. Now, why the demand has dropped, so the supply has dropped so much? Because some of our big guys, you know, the large project that we are talking about in a few years ago, are putting on sleep, just somehow re-looking into the way to move forward, even if some of the larger ones are actually moving back. But where did the supply go in the last few years? This is pretty much the picture of Vietnam hotels industry. The majority of the supply in the last few years all went to the coastal destination. Very little Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. And this is very interesting for everybody, including investors. But also what is interesting is that those guys on the coastal destination, because of new supply, they have a lot of very young hotels. The average age is 5 years old, 5 or 6, and they're quite large, on average 200 key, versus our city, which we are looking into 15 years older and much smaller hotel. But the things is about to change, even in the city. So, the future, let's have a look to what is coming. Phu Quoc is now the #1 in terms of supply. Usually was Da Nang to take the spot. Phu Quoc is on fire as well. And what we start to see, that a lot of rooms are coming, around 14,000 rooms, and obviously the winner and the one that is bringing the majority of them is the Sun Group. Now, the second one is Da Nang, still very nice pipeline. What is happening in Da Nang? They're moving away from the beach side into the inner side of the city, and a lot of differentiation in terms of brands. Hanoi, again, is doing very well and very interesting. Has never seen that amount of supply coming over in Hanoi. Some of the GM here, including Daniel, are opening new hotel this year, so they are going to face a lot of competition in the upcoming time. Ho Chi Minh City, still not much. So there are a few. We know our Mandarin Oriental, which we all know the story about that. Sims is moving back, so there are good signs of moving, but Ho Chi Minh City has been sleeping for a long time. But this is about to change, because Ho Chi Minh City has seen few years of slowdown, but the reality is places like Tu Tien or places around Ho Chi Minh, they really have a lot of projects in the pipeline that are waiting the final step of approval. So we will see a lot of mixed use, we'll see a lot of branded residence, we'll see a lot of standalone hotel and service apartment, all in this new area of Ho Chi Minh City. Not yet, but about to come, hopefully end of this year, we'll be able to see much more. But who are the owner of all the hotels in Vietnam? So the biggest one is Mon Tan, with the biggest number of hotels, and in terms of room number, it's Vingroup. When you look at the luxury market, we always put Sun Group and Vingroup as the one that kind of put it forward, but Master Eyes will also be here soon. They have a very nice pipeline of new luxury market. When you look at the family and group travels and kind of mid-scale, upscale market, we have a few other brands here that are taking the leads. Now, in the future, those are the guys that will bring you 40% of all the total supply will come from those. And they're all in the room today. Be nice with them when you see them. And the biggest one bringing all our supply and all the brand new hotel, obviously, is Sun Group, which will be sitting here talking about that later at the panel. Who is managing all those hotels? 85% of all the supply, new one, will be under a management company. It's been a phenomenal growth of management and brand in the last few years. Everybody love it. Developer understood, I'm building the hotel, I'm not managing. I'll give it to somebody that can do it. And obviously somebody will need to pay the price. But somehow we start to see a lot of new brands coming at the level that we are now 99 brands in Vietnam. But what is happening is we went from the traditional brand at the beginning to the lifestyle brand now. So we don't see much more of those coming. Obviously, we still see, but in terms of volume, we start really to see new brands. And there are a few reasons why. Consumers are changing. They're accepting something new. Operators are running out of brands, and they are buying other brands to propose to you. But also, what we start to see is a loyalty program for hotel operators. It's becoming a very important advantage to OTA. So they're trying to fight the OTA by consolidating as much as brand that they can and going directly to the consumer. And we keep opening new brands. This year only, in the first 3 months of the year, those are brands that have been welcomed into Vietnam. Obviously, there's still a lot of brands that are not here yet. Again, some of them are in the room today. Please talk to them because they will really like to step into the country, as well as some of the local chain. Again, some of them are doing extremely well in terms of growth. But what happened to the brand also is that few years ago, we start to see this phenomenon of rebranding the hotel from existing brand to another brand, or for local or owner's brand to a new one, especially in this period, and especially because of those guys. The latest one this year was Wink and Unscripted by Hyatt. Later, Michael will be on stage to tell us about this story. But in the future, what is happening? We are going to have a lot of new branded hotel opening. This year, we opened more branded hotel than in the past 3 years combined. So there will be a lot of competition coming from the guys that want to accept that challenge. But who is the biggest hotel operator in Vietnam? You saw this slide already. This is actually last MTE. It's not now, it's 1 year ago. The bigger winner of the hotel race was, you probably know it, Accor. Now, are other people catching up? Let's see what happened in 12 months, if any of them are actually taking a little bit. This is the last 12 months. I suggest you to watch into this category because they are catching up. Look at Hyatt Amen Hotel and look at Marriott and Hilton. So they are kind of speeding. Obviously, Accor is still the number one, but other people are trying to get the leads. In terms of brands, which one is the biggest brand? And this is very important and curious because Novotel and Sheraton has always been the most common brand in Vietnam. This year, True by Hilton is taking the step with one single client. We'll talk about that later in some of the panel. Pipeline is different because Novotel and Melia, and I think was somewhere over here, they still have a very good pipeline of hotel coming. So again, we'll see in the next few years who will be the best brand. But which one is the one that opened the most hotel this year? Hilton, with one single client. Alternative model, they are coming as well. So we do see franchise coming, and we'll talk about franchise in the next panel. And we saw what we call skin in the game, which is alternative business model. Leasing or profit sharing or key money, lot of other way for hotel operator to enter the game of hospitality, and some of them are proven to be very successful. Wyndham Best Western, still the biggest franchise. Now, I'm going to close this by picking some of the sector, and one that I always have to disclose, because Vietnam has always been one of the biggest in that field, was the condotel market. And you know I bring always my condotel guy when he comes with that. What is going on in the condotel market? We start to see a steep down in the last few years, but hopefully it's coming back. So we have more condotel coming back, and a lot of them, they will be obviously branded. But what is important is to see the second home market type of product. Condotel was extremely popular pre-COVID time. You remember the time of guarantee return? You remember the time of everybody want to launch something? There was a pre-COVID. After that, few of them failed. Others, they did pretty well, but this failure of some of them has brought developers to move to shop house. Shop house has not turned out to be a great product, because for coastal products, because for coastal is not the right development unless you know how to bring life to your shop house. So what we start to see in the last 2 years was moving into holiday home condo. Now the question is, what will be next? And the next will be branded residence. We all have been talking about branded residence. You know now what branded residence is. There is an enormous amount of worldwide, and Vietnam is taking the shape. I don't talk much about this because we do have a presentation on branded residence right after the tea break from my colleague Win. What I will do, I will say something interesting. Branded residence has always been luxury segments. But in Vietnam, some developers are taking it 1 inch lower, affordable luxury or upscale luxury. That's unheard before to enter that much, and we'll see much more of this. We hope that this kind of category is well done and will not turn to be another condotel. So I'm not boring you anymore with the other stuff. I don't want to talk about luxury because we've been talking about that a lot. There are a lot of things coming into this. I don't want to talk about multi-generation travelers because later we have Club Med in the panel and we'll be able to share us a little bit more. Wellness is another enormous trend with a lot of other things. And this is the end of my slide, and I wanted to give more time for Nhung and for the rest of the things. So I just say thank you to everybody to come here. This is what I've been writing just before going on stage, because I didn't know how to close it up. But thank you very much, everybody who come here. It's always amazing to see so many people and such a great energy with us at the MTE every year. I'll see you at the Oscar night. But before I'm leaving, this is actually Oscar Night Bangkok. We are doing it on 21st of May. So anybody interested to see this great crowd in Bangkok, please come with us. Please register at the time. Thank you very much. Over to the next speaker.
Thank you, Mauro. So before moving to the panel discussion and tea break, there will be 2 business models for your reference. Miss You Development and Franchise. Firstly, Miss You Development under Design View. Please join me in welcoming Joe Silver, Design Principal from 10 Design.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wehab and Mauro, especially for giving me the opportunity to be today designing the future new standard of living in mixed-use developments, some case studies. Bit of challenging to come here today and talk about this. I had to do also a bit of study a bit what we have been doing the last few years, and I think I wanted to start by mentioning a few things that we have been interested. And in 2020, there was a study asked by Deloitte to enumerate and to figure urban trends that would be shaping the future of cities and in the next few years. This was in a context of COVID, but I thought it was important to bring this here today because it's still relevant today, especially after the events from 4 weeks ago and that keep happening. So the 15-minute city is the thing that really interested more to us, and interested in the sense of thinking about the master planning scale and also the architecture scale of projects. And 15-minute city is all about proximity. It's about diversity of users, diversity of generations, diversity of types of professionals and users fundamentally. Inclusiveness is also, it's about offering different types of products, different types of residential projects, different types of people living the same space, and density. Density is very important because with density you get the footfall for each project, each part of the project to be successful individually, which makes the whole project successful by itself. Some case studies. The first one I'll bring here, of course I wanted to bring a few from Vietnam, where we have been working a lot in the last few years, and a few other examples from elsewhere. So the first one, Landmark 55, hospitality embedded in a new administrative CBD in a 15-minute community. This is quite interesting. This master plan was not done by us, but it was, I think it's quite successful. It's a new CBD in Star Lake in Hanoi. These 5 buildings are our projects, actually. We have been quite lucky to be involved with them. And this is very roughly the master plan. You can see in red the 3 plots that we are working with. We have a few other plots that we are working at right now, but you can see how prominent are those axes, green axes, that allow the fluidity between and the communication between different plots, where people can really walk from home to work, from work to retail, from retail to the hotel, from administrative area, which is in yellow represented here. Some diagrams that we thought were important to show how we conceived the project, how we left this permeability to get to the green axes, and again respect the master plan and the whole fundamental of the master plan, and some images of conceptual images, and also images that this is under construction right now, so conceptual images and final render images of the project. Moving to another one, West Bund Central in Shanghai, fully connected TOD mixed use, including cultural and civic components. This is very interesting. The master plan is actually a combined effort where Ten Design had the scope of all the retail planning. The retail planning actually stitches the whole master plan, again in a 15-minute walk kind of city or community, and underpins all these towers that are from office towers, residential towers, and also again civic elements throughout the master plan. You can see how the connectivity is respected. It's emphasized and celebrated in this master plan, and some civic elements within the master plan. Finally, Prince Bay Taizhuan, branded residential with lifestyle retail in a new CBD mixed use in Shenzhen. This is important to bring for us. Again, this is built, recently open, and important again because it sits in a master plan, again with the same principles, and again so important right now. Just remembering that in Philippines, for example, now you only are allowed to go to work 4 days a week just to save potentially 20% of use of gasoline and all that throughout the week. So there is all reasons and more to try to accommodate this 15-minute walk city, to try to celebrate, to use the mixed use in projects to make them more sustainable to a certain extent. And this one, the residential tower, again, branded residential, it tries to communicate between the hillside and the sea. We tested several approaches and how to synergize different elements of the master plan. Of course, we have, in this project, we have retail, supporting retail, but we wanted to connect, to be very well connected to the office areas, to the transportation areas, to the marina, to everything that was going around the project. This, again, I mean, maybe not today we're going to speak too much about this, but just to show that there's a mix of programs as we go up the tower, and that is translated to the architecture of the tower and the expression of it. And again, the master plan, you can see the plot in red is where we were working on, but all the plots, they kind of work together in the different uses, different synergies between different plots to make a sustainable and high density development. Some planning, I will not go into detail, but this is some of the images from when we developed the project, and finally some as we delivered. This is a built project inaugurated in less than 1 year ago. Finally, Spirit Tower in Ripple Bay Residential. Not a typical high-density urban kind of development. But again, some things that have been brought is in Phuc Walk, which is interesting. Everyone is talking about it. Sun Group is the developer. And we had the opportunity of doing this master plan and do the iconic, let's say, anchor development of hospitality in this destination, mixed-use development again. So, quite iconic tower. Hospitality is a luxury collection by Marriott, but sits in a integrated resort with casino, with convention, with retail, in an island off an island. So this is located in a Hontom Island, which is off Phuc Walk. So you just reach there eventually by boat, but predominantly by a cable car, which is quite a fantastic vision. So the master plan is our master plan. From the start, we wanted to create, this is not the whole island, this is just part of the island, but we wanted to create a footfall, some community that would have enough uses and a diversity of uses that could be sustainable for its own life. So the hotel is about 230 rooms, 330 rooms. There's residential, there's mid-rise residential closer to the hill. There's like a village center with more townhouses and shop houses, and there's a retail area which is called Fisherman's Wharf. Moving forward, I mean, what we wanted to bring today is the complexity and how the mixed use could work well here, with a lot of complexities of addressing privacy from the hotel perspective, and also synergies from the casino perspective, where you want to bring retailers to casino and the guests from hotel as well, and eventually take advantage of that fantastic view facing west, facing the sunset. So this is an aerial view of the project, and you could see this is one destination floor in the rooftop. It's quite a dramatic geometry, and you can see how the mix of uses between, you know, there's a rock bar which is public, there's the swimming pool deck, which is obviously private from the hotel, retail deck. There's uses that interface in a very curated way so that they maximize its own life, but doesn't compromise the operation of casino, the privacy from the hotel side, and so forth. So these are some images. The hotel lobby, client wanted 16 meter tall, so we kind of addressed that, drop off and so forth. And by Marriott, condition was that the casino entrance should not compromise or should not be visible from the hotel entrance, so we had to somehow carve aside, but also celebrate as you get into that niche, celebrate that entrance to casino is about being a bit festive. Again, this is an island where there's no cars. There's some buggies only, electric buggies, and this is the drop-off for retail area and the boardwalk facing the sea, facing the sunset. So these some other images. In terms of planning, I mean, I'm going quite a little bit fast on this, but just to understand the complexity of the planning as we arrive, we have three main programs: casino, the convention, and the hotel, and they start to interface in gray. It's a back of house. They interface in very curated and specific areas where they can synergize but not compromise the operation of each one of them. And I think, I mean, this is under construction now, the retail loop. That also allows the continuation to north, where it will be connected to a pier eventually, and the cable car, and showing a bit of the synergies and eventually the room floors, guest room floors layouts. And this is what it will look, hopefully, at the end of construction. And finally, talking a bit about us, we are 10 Design, a global architecture firm, practice built out of collaboration, imagination, and agility. sharing complementary knowledge across borders. We are committed to the same principles of resilient and responsible design. We mainly are architects and master planners. We do supportive landscape. Sustainability underpins all our practice, and we do interiors mainly linked to our retail planning as well. And fundamental, retail, commercial, hospitality, master planning, residential, mixed use is our bread and butter, and we are now more than 400 architects throughout the world in 9 offices. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jules. And now we would like to invite you to watch a video from our partner, VinaLiving, and then the team will prepare the stage for the next section.
Two. Good afternoon. Let me lead in to say we have a very exciting topic, a hot topic, very much talked about in the market these days. It is franchising, and today we're going to discuss a little bit about franchising, in particular what potential it has here in Vietnam. Obviously, we have a limited time, so we're going to run through some of the key aspects of it. And then we'll also let you know where and when there is more in-depth opportunity to talk to us about it. Just to frame the whole thing, if you look at the total landscape of management agreements today in Vietnam, there's only about 20% of those being franchise agreements. If you compare that to Asia overall, we're looking about 40 to 50%. And if you look towards Europe or America, we're talking about 80% of all agreements being franchised. So obviously there is a massive gap that we like to explore. It's worthwhile exploring. That said, in Vietnam today, there is a legal framework for franchising that involves registering your business model, your agreements, registering your brands, and then also there are rigid annual reporting requirements of what sort of agreements on the franchise spectrum you've entered. So there is a very good legal framework, so the model is safe and secure. I'm here today with Prab Thakral, CEO of Boutique Corporation. Prab, why don't you just introduce yourself and what you do?
Sure. Boutique Corporation is a listed company on the Stock Exchange of Thailand. And we are hospitality developers owning many, many hotels. We also develop commercial real estate. We have a service arm that also provides services, which are development management services, asset management services, and third-party operation services. So we would partner with Accor in this instance, where they would provide a franchise to a owner, and we would then operate that hotel for that owner. And yes, that's a little bit of background about boutique.
Great. So we're going to talk a little about theoretical things, but at the end of our session, there will also be a practical case, just showcasing how an independently run property labeled with a brand and then managed under a franchise can succeed. Okay, we're going to address, I think, 4 of the key topics of franchising. So just to keep it, in a frame. Number 1, the question very often asked is, what is the actual difference between a management agreement and a franchise agreement? So, Prab, could you just point out to us the real fundamentals? Because I think there's still a lot of confusion in the market.
Sure. Franchising is simply plugging into the brand of a large hospitality company like Accor, where you plug into their booking engines, but you manage the hotel yourself. And when you manage the hotel yourself, you are also responsible for the success of that hotel, the P&L of that hotel. There are a lot of benefits to this, because running your own hotel allows you to manage perhaps your costs better, manage your leadership better, however, still having the benefit of the technology from a large brand owner like Accor, and plugging into their vast booking engines. So this is one of the core differences between franchising and management. Now, if you don't know how to operate a hotel, then you can take a franchise and you can also work with a third-party operator to help you set this all up and operate that hotel on a franchise basis, where the fee structures are also more beneficial to an owner.
Okay. We'll get back to that TPO, third-party operator model, a little bit later on. So the owner operates, and the owner is responsible for the performance.
That's correct.
And is also liable for what's typically excluded in the operator's performance of a management agreement. Very interesting. How about IT? Is there a difference in the cost of getting connected?
There is a difference in the cost of getting connected. If you work well with a brand like Accor, the cost of IT and the IT stack can be more manageable and is less, for lack of a better word, costly.
Okay, I love to be specific.
Yes.
So most of you know this anyway. The big 5 international operators, if you want to plug into their distribution and IT stack, you're looking in the vicinity, and my colleagues may argue this a little bit, but somewhere between $350,000 to $500,000, depending on the size of the property and the facilities and so forth, for a management agreement. If you take that property on a franchise agreement, that cost would reduce. I speak for us now because I'm not sure with the others, but that would reduce to about 100,000 or sometimes even lower than that.
That's correct. That's correct. And if you know how to actually deploy that IT stack, it could actually be lower than $100,000 as well.
We got to move. I got the sign 5 minutes.
All right.
So what are the benefits? You mentioned already distribution loyalty. What else do you get?
Well, you also get the framework of what the brand standards are, right? So you have a brand audit. The brand will come in, just make sure, check and balance that you are actually achieving the brand, so that you are able to achieve your rates and your occupancy in that hotel. That's very, very important. And You can choose technical services as well, should you wish to access technical services for the knowledge on how to build a hotel.
All right, elephant in the room, fees. Is there any upside on that?
There is significant upside on fees. With franchising, you do pay substantially less fees. You're paying fees on usually room income only, and you're paying fees on a percentage basis of room income. And it's really as simple as that.
Very interesting. So none of the F&B revenues?
No.
None of these GOP incentive fees? None of that?
None.
But marketing there is?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Very interesting, I think, in particularly for hotels with massive room counts and maybe limited services. I think the franchise model may suggest to make a lot of sense. We got to move. Who, where, and what brands, in your experience, are best suited for franchise?
If you're looking from the spectrum of economy all the way to mid-market and select service, I believe those are the best brands for franchising. It works exceptionally well. I believe Jens has a case study as well on what we've just recently done with one property in Thailand.
Yep, I have one more question before we hop to that. So if an owner wants a franchise but he does not have the expertise, this does happen quite a bit. And maybe he realizes, take me some time to get there. You talked about an option. What is that option?
Well, the option is, as you know, we've brought owners to Accor, brought an Accor brand where we operate the brand on behalf of that owner with an Accor brand, and that is called third-party operations. And you would choose a third-party operator who's experienced working with the likes of Accor, in this case, and is able to integrate the IT systems and the operations and the revenue management and the brand standard quickly so that you can basically drive the performance of the hotel.
And the combined fees of that third party plus what the brand wants are lucrative?
Well, certainly much lower for the owner.
Interesting.
Yes.
We have a case behind us, a real case that we actually did with you, Prab.
Yes.
An individually branded property.
Yes, indeed.
That we did a little PIP together. We did the IT stack, and you manage it yourself. That's under right. A franchise agreement. That's and right. The brand. What was the result? How did it work?
Well, we ran it with a white label brand, and then we decided to work with Accor to put the Mercure brand, and we saw within 60 days a 50% uplift in ADR. So we saw, for example, that translating into 3 times more EBITDA earnings on our hotel in 60 days. And we're now doing it with more brands, more of our hotels, and there are many other owners coming to us saying, Prab, can you please assist us? And we are basically collaborating with Accor to do this.
So great opportunity for individually branded properties to take a brand, manage under a franchise, keep the hands on the ball. Okay, fantastic. Is there one more slide? Am I allowed to speak to this slide?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
You have 1 minute.
All right, fantastic. This was rather brief, and I hope it was informative, and thank you, Prab, for your insights.
Thank you, Jens.
Behind us, you see us advertising a dedicated invitation-only franchise event. It will happen on the 23rd of April in Hanoi at our Move and Pick Hotel. There is a QR code. It's invitation only, but if you contact us, we would love to have a look at that, and we would like, some of you are really interested to learn detailed information from an operator, a legal perspective, because we have a law firm there and a consultant. Mauro will be joining us there with Savills. to really listen and learn and ask questions how franchise in Vietnam works in detail. Thank you so much.
I shall be there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. See you in Hanoi. Yeah. So coming up next, we will show you a video of our premium partner, and then the team will prepare the final section, the panel discussion on hospitality of Vietnam. Thank you.
We are Hieu, proud of over 100.
Thank you for your attention.
We need more panelists. I think we need more people. It's not enough.
And now, panel discussion on Vietnam hospitality market. Allow me to introduce our moderator, Douglas Loden, Principal Perception Hospitality. And we are pleased to be joined by our panelists, Denogen from Sun Group, Nelly Phương Tả, Mastercard Group, Thule TNT Hospitality, Jam from Dusit International, Minh Nguyễn, One Capital Hospitality, Michael Piro, Indochina Capital, Sebastian from Club Med, and David from Fusion Hotel Group. Please, John, please welcome on stage. Please find your correct avatar.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you've been enjoying the session so far. As you can see, we have a big panel today. We've got 5 developers and 3 operators up here, and we're going to talk about the market here in Vietnam. So we're going to start off, first of all, I'm going to get everyone to introduce yourselves, just a quick introduction for yourself, your company, what you've got currently in terms of properties in Vietnam, and what's in the pipeline for you, okay? And then I'm going to ask a question of each of the panelists after that, and then we're going to get into some general discussion, okay? So we'll start with you, Daniel.
Thank you, Clueless. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here today. It's Daniel from Sun Group. And thank you, Mauro, for featuring us through a lot of introductions about the pipeline of Sun Group. So we specialize in hospitality, real estate development, and recently aviation as well, and also infrastructure that support destination development. And right now we have 18 operating hotels, but as you can see in the supply, it's gonna go up close to 100 by 2030. Over to you, Nelly.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you very much to our guests today and allow us to speak on the stage. Nelly comes from the Master Right Group, which we are developing in the ecosystem with all the, not only the real estate, it's a range of the premiums to international branded residents. We also explore ourselves to hospitality and entertainment, which is currently with the 30 projects in pipeline, which is signed sums with the operators, and also another one is looking for that. We not only in the hotels, but also develop in terms of the destination with the airport, aviation, the infrastructure. We also develop in terms of the museum, golf club, etc. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tu. I'm from TNT Hospitality, a member of TNT Group. We have not like 30 or like 100 hotels, but we have around 15 hotels coming next in the next 3 years. And TNT Group, we don't only have hotel, but there are also industrial park. There's via travel airline. There's real estate. There's renewable energy and all other investment field. And I hope all of us have a good and fun discussion today.
Hi guys, I'm Siridej, or you can call me Champ. I'm from Dusit International. We are a Thai-based hospitality company. Right now we have 60 hotels and about 300 luxury villas and estates under our management. We also a developer ourselves, mostly in Thailand. So we also do mixed use, branded residences, but then also all the rest of the value chain in hospitality. For example, hospitality education, where we are the largest in Thailand. We also do catering and also food manufacturing as well at the same time. We have about 60 hotels under development in pipeline. In Vietnam, we have 2 properties, one in Phu Quoc and one in Hanoi, which was just opened last year. And obviously, we will have more as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I have to say this publicly first, right? Every time I attend MTE, I think I always see Mauro's a bit nervous. You know, the audience look great. You know, there's always food, wine. Seems like, you know, I've been attending Mauro's wedding for the last, 10 times. My name is Ming. I represent One Capital Hospitality. We are a publicly traded company. We are in the business of preserving and creating products and businesses that resemble the best of Vietnam. For 2 things, food and hospitality. So way before investment in hotels, we're very proud to own certain brands, very beloved brands from Vietnam, brands like Givro Bakery. That brand is originated here in Saigon. It has been in business since 1950. We also own one of the biggest ice cream companies in Vietnam, Trang Tien Ice Cream. That business has been here since 1958. And I remember last year, 2025, we supplied to Vin Wonders with the amount of about 740 ice cream sticks. So again, I'm in great mood today. If any of the hotels that are thinking about getting bakery products or ice cream products into your hotel, talk to me. I'll give you a price you cannot refuse. Again, in terms of hotel investment, we are currently running 3 hotels. We have 2 in Nha Trang, 1 in Hanoi, very luckily with Dusit International.
Forgot to say he's my owner, so.
Thank you, Sham. And also we do have a project in Halong Bay with Melia. Also have a sizable project in Ninh Bay, right next door to the Six Senses with Accor. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Great to be here. I'm David, working for Fusion Hotel Group. We are, I think, well, I guess maybe not with Wink here, but we are one of the only homegrown brands, I think, represented this afternoon. Very much a wellness-inspired hospitality company. We have a fantastic portfolio of hotels here across Vietnam. In Thailand, we have another operating platform, which is more on lifestyle mid-scale segment. And we just took over another operating platform recently in Indonesia. And so in total now, within the region, we're operating 28 properties, also some in the pipeline here in Vietnam. And for us, we are focusing mainly on Southeast Asia, I think primarily here in Vietnam. And we are also looking to expand out into new destinations. We just announced our first hotel in the Maldives, which is a fantastic project for us, and hope to continue that expansion across Asia Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So I'm Sebastian. I'm representing Club Med. Club Med is the global leader of upscale all-inclusive holidays with a family positioning as a core segment. We operate about 70 properties globally with a bit more than $2 billion US revenue every year and 1.5 million clients. We are not, and I hope it's the last time I say this on this stage, we are not operating in Vietnam yet. We will be opening our first new property in 25 years in Southeast Asia in November with Club Med Borneo. So you can check it out online because we just opened the sales. So it's going to be a very exciting time for the brand. And we're looking to bring a new generation of Club Med properties catered for the emerging family clientele in the region. More will follow in Indonesia, in Thailand, already in our pipeline. But first and foremost, Vietnam is very high on our list and our big priority for this year. So looking forward to exchanging and discussing with all developers to bring Club Med and create new destinations across Vietnam.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Piro. I'm the co-CEO of Indochina Capital. We are more or less a sector-agnostic development and investment firm that's been operating in Vietnam for the past 27 years. During that time, we've invested close to $3 billion. Looking back, we've developed, from a hospitality perspective, we've developed the Nam Hai Four Seasons, Hyatt Regency Da Nang, and Six Senses Con Dao. Fast forward more recently, we are the proud owners and operators of Wink Hotels, the second kind of locally grown Vietnamese hotel brand where we recently partnered with Hyatt. So we're now kind of officially Wink Hotels, unscripted by Hyatt. We have 6 hotels, 1,500 keys in operation now. And we have a hotel under construction in Hanoi, which will open first quarter next year, which will bring us to about 2,000 keys for this platform. In addition to this, we're also building a Mandarin Oriental luxury resort in South Central Vietnam in Phu Yen province, which is underway, which is going to really reestablish a benchmark for luxury resorts in Vietnam when it opens in 2028.
Great, thanks. Now I'm going to come back and say I'm going to ask one question each of you before we go to sort of general questions. So a lot of the time you pick up the newspaper almost every day, I hear something about Sun Group. Sun Group are doing this, Sun Group are doing that, new airline, new airport terminals in Fukuoka, etc. Tell us, Daniel, about Sun's overall vision for Fukuoka. What is it that we'll see in Fukuoka in 10 years' time from now? And what is your overall vision for the future of Fukuoka?
Well, thank you very much, Douglas. Last year, on the 1st of October in MTE in Hanoi, we actually discussed about the development of Fukuoka in general. To recap a bit, Fukuoka is actually nearly the same size of Singapore, 567 square kilometers. And Sun Group has entered Fukuoka back in 2014. Now, recently, Sun Group in general has transitioned from doing a single development into the complex development, also called destination development, integrated way. And as you can see, recently we do a lot to serve the deadline that all the people at Sun Group is focusing on, APEC 2027. And what does it mean? Is it everything just serve that 10 days of the summit of APEC 2027? No, but that's a catalyst to actually elevate Fukuoka into an emerging destination, and that are both visions, because we, again, like Mr. Hieu earlier from VinaLiving just said, we don't do hotels development only. We actually do the whole supply chain of tourism customer journey. Now, the experience of Fukuoka doesn't actually arrive when you arrive into Fukuoka. But with Sun Fukuoka Airways, the newly launched airlines that took off on the 1st of November last year, now we have 10 aircrafts in our fleet, 25 this year for the fleet development strategy, and 100 by 2030. That means every single flight that we actually take off to the world, we bring Fukuoka name. So everyone who knows more about Fukuoka as an emerging destination, like earlier, Jesper actually say, okay, Fukuoka is actually island, it's 2 destinations. And for Fukuoka, we focus on the foundations of sustainable development is infrastructure. No other destination, no destinations of tourism can actually sustain the future long development without a proper infrastructure, and we actually learn our lessons from Phuket, from Bali. That's why we actually took over the operations of Terminal 1 of Fukuoka International Airport as first of Jan this year, in together with working with Changi Airport International in the past 10 months to design and then build a different travel experience at airport destination concept in the Terminal 2 of Fukuoka International Airport, and we bring that Changi DNA. So you step on the plane of Sun Fukuoka Airways, you feel that warm service from the heart, the scent of Fukuoka on the aircraft, arriving to Fukuoka Terminal 2 Airport, and then check in. But before you check into the hotel, you actually experience that airport destination, and then also the infrastructure that we built earlier. One of the key hashtag that we have is BT, build and transfer, and that we built for the light rail system as well, connecting the Fukuoka Airport down south to the APEC district area. So that's the infrastructure, the airport infrastructure, the airlines. 2 of these have been de-risked because earlier, like if you look into 2023, we could not develop the tourism in Fukuoka because we're too dependent on the supply of airfares, of air supply. Like regardless of how many hotels you open, how well you do on the ground, you cannot bring customer there because the constraints of supply of air tickets and then air price is too expensive. Now we resolved that already. So we focus on building an integrated destinations, including shows. And by talking about shows, we've been working with one of the world-class and a few world-class already, Kiss of the Sea, Symphony of the Sea shows, together with the curated selections of hotels that we're building. And recently, last week, we welcomed Anthony Capuano, the CEO of Marriott International, to announce the 10 hotels deal, 4,500 room keys, 8 brands, introducing the very first W Hotel and also Moxie that opens next year. for APEC, together with previously Chris Nasetta from Hilton. We announced that 2,000 key deals as well. So the vision for Phu Quoc and what we will see in the next 10 years is what we do today for the supply, for the infrastructure development, is to serve the longer term of Phu Quoc as an emerging destinations to attract, because at the maturity stage, Sun Phu Quoc Airways is not the local boutique airline carrier. It's going to serve the missions of international, because at the maturity stage, we signed a deal with Boeing earlier this year as well in Washington, D.C. for our 40 aircraft, the largest wide-body deal in the aviation industry of Vietnam. That to serve the supply in the future for 75% of our flight. It's going to connect the world to Phu Quoc. To serve its unique selling point right now is a visa-free island. Everyone can actually get there for free.
A man very passionate about Phu Quoc. You say the scent of Phu Quoc on the planes, yeah? Well, all I can think of is fish sauce. I'm not sure if I want to be on your planes. So, Nelly, tell us about Masteries. What are your plans? I mean, are you specifically going to be a branded residence developer? Are you going to be building hotels at the same time? Where are Masteries going?
Thank you for your questions. Yes, from the last year, MTE was introduced. Masteries is not only for the resident developer anymore. We jump into the hotels industry. So we have some certain hotel development under development and expect to open by next year. Our first putting property in operations.
Where is that?
This will be one hotels in Hanoi and another around 2-3 property in Ho Chi Minh City. So maybe next MTE in 2027, you will see some new pipeline in Ho Chi Minh City. Then we are one of those. The second one, which is coming very strongly this year, a little bit quite similar between two groups. We are so much of the friends, so we also develop the aviation infrastructure. When Sun Group is putting the effort to Phu Quoc, then Masteries is putting the effort in Bắc Ninh, which is we will hopefully to welcome, and it is already announced for the airport, hopefully to get a Skytrack standard airport in the north of Vietnam, which is aiming to have around 50 million passengers in the upcoming years. It's also to putting an infrastructure for sustainable of all the tourism and the business as well. So talking about the Masteries Group during last year, 2095 and 26, that is much of the changings. So we are not only the branded residence for longs. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Angel, my dear Angel. Tell us about TT&T. Where are you going? Where are you going to be putting hotels up?
We have quite a number of land. At the moment, we have around 15 projects under design investment. So we have a couple of projects in the central Vietnam. We also invest a lot in Da Nang and Phu Quoc as well. So we have like 2 properties in Phu Quoc, 3 properties in Da Nang. We're going to open 1 in Hanoi, 1 in Hải Dương, 1 in Dach Miêu this year. And next year, 1 in Lang Co, 1 in Nam Dan. We have a huge project with more like a memorial, a birthplace of Ho Chi Minh. Also in Dong Hai, in Hieu. So those are the focus point that we're going to invest in the near future. However, for us, beside those projects that already started, we have like a huge land that we do, master planning at the moment. And as Mauro showed everybody earlier, what we like is like the attraction activities or something that can encourage the guests to come to build the place as a destination and incorporate with the culture of the place. So beside those 15 projects, we have like 1,000 hectare land here, 100 hectare land there. And we're working on very, very thorough study, master plan in order not to turn it to an empty ghost town. So those are our direction moving forward, and our land and the project will be scattered from north to the south, and mostly in the north in the long run.
And which brands are you working with?
At the moment, we closed a deal with Marriott International, with Accor, with Hilton. And in the future, in the meantime, we've been talking to different operators as well for some of our land moving forward. So we expect to have like variants of a variety of different brand, different operator with like wide range of positioning for all the projects that we have.
Thank you.
And beside those, we also have, beside hotels, business, we also have like museum. Chị Nelly also mentioned earlier. We want to put like museum and all kind of activities. So we also actively looking for the operator that operate like entertainment, theme park, museum. We've been working with like some museum consultant right now. So if anybody here that wish to work with us, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
One moment of
Good.
advertisement.
Thank you. Consider you've got 2 hotels here now.
Yep.
How many would you like for Dusit to have in the future? And where would you like Dusit to be?
Well, I mean, okay, so we have like, over 25 hotels and properties, excluding all the residences and villas in Thailand. And obviously, we have seen the growth, of Vietnam. We know that, Vietnam, unfortunately for me as a Thai, that, Vietnam tourism will definitely overtake us, but I think that's also the strength as well, right? I mean, we've seen what's happening to the global economy and geopolitics. I think, like if ASEAN can be strong and can be that one wholesome unit, I think we'll be much stronger, right, in the tourism sense. For us, in terms of Dusit, we have altogether 9 brands, in total, and this basically very much range from ultra luxury wellness all the way to kind of like the neighborhood lifestyle hotel, limited service, small square meters for room, 16 square meters, very vibrant, and then everything in between that. So from, ultra luxury all the way to kind of like contemporary mid-scale. So for us, we can definitely deploy, each of these brands. But what is really important is that, we very, very want to focus on the experience. We're not, because we're quite, I wouldn't say, we're quite a regional brand, but with a very global outlook. We operate in 4 different continents. For us, we still really want to focus on that experience economy, that wellness aspect, that Asian hospitality for us is something that's really, really important. And most of all, like I believe that relationship is also very important as well. We are a listed company in Thailand, and we are very, very much professional operators ourselves. Out of the 60 hotels that we have, we own 20, and the rest is actually managed, globally, especially in, the Middle East, unfortunately right now too. So we do have, that professional operator mindset, but we have a lot of family values. And that's why, like, for us, relationship is very, very important. I think in terms of the growth in Vietnam, we want to probably maybe sign maybe 2-3 hotel maximum per year. We don't tend to do much. I mean, numbers for us is not really, we're not really into that number games, because we're not really looking at from the viewpoint of, the big boys out there. But, for us, every hotels have to activate the brand. We very, very much co-create that value from the beginning, similar to what we have done with our flagship, which was opened last year in Bangkok. We're now the #1 hotel on TripAdvisor in Bangkok out of 1,300 hotels. So we look at, the experience, we look at the impact it will have, in terms of the market. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Min,
Yes.
One Capital, you've got properties in Hanoi, you've got properties in Nha Trang. Where do you see the best investment at the moment?
I think where we invest ties very much into our hotel philosophy, hotel investment philosophy. So 2019, a journalist asked Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, what do you think that would change in the next 10 years? And his response was very profound. He said this. This is a very, very interesting question and a very common one. But what question that I don't really receive a lot is, what doesn't change in the next 10 years? And in retail business, there are 3 things that customers always want. They always want low prices, fast delivery, and vast selection. So again, when we think about our hotel investment, at our company, we focus our investment around the things that don't change over time, because we can build business strategy around the things that are stable in time. So hotels, right? What won't change? 3 things. Great location, great services, and a compelling story. And it's going to be very hard to imagine if any one of us in the room here today, waking up tomorrow in a hotel and saying that I'm never coming back to this hotel because the location is so convenient, the service is so attentive, and the story is so inspiring. It is very hard to see that. So again, our investment will revolves around the things that don't change. And because of that, destinations like Hanoi, Nha Trang are quite obvious. And again, I think Dusit Hanoi, which we opened last year in May, is an example of our philosophy. You know, it's a wonderful hotel, great location, exceptional services, and a compelling story. And I just, during lunch, I just told my friend David here that don't come to Dusit. Because when you come, it's going to mess up your whole hotel experience. You know, you never going to be able to stay in another hotel. And again, so again, you know, back to the question, I think Nha Trang and Hanoi are very, very vibrant cities for hotel investment. And again, you know, we do have other projects in pipeline. Again, they have to tie directly to our philosophy as a whole. Thank you.
Great, thank you. David, so just to clarify for the audience, Kun Suchat of
Yes.
SC Capital fame has bought Fusion Management Company, yes?
Correct, yes.
What does that do for you, and what does that mean for the future of Fusion?
Well, I think it's, I mean, obviously, many people know who Suchat is. They've heard of SC Capital. I think SC Capital now, the fund is an investment vehicle operating in mainly Asia Pacific and now expanding outside of Asia Pacific. And SC Capital has got numerous hospitality investments, mainly in Japan. And Suchat has his own private investments, and his private investments are the management companies. And so he first invested in a management company in Japan called Hotel Management Japan. And then he invested in a company in Indonesia called Top Hotels. And so now that he's on the investment side and he's on the operator side, he can blend that platform together quite well. And I think he saw the opportunity in Vietnam, both from a development perspective. He saw the opportunity in Fusion from a brand perspective. So our brands are much more curated. We have a wider, diverse range of brands, and I think that holds a lot of value for potential properties that he looks to invest in and develop. So when he purchased the business, the goal was to create a Pan-Asian hospitality company. And we've already started that process by integrating the Indonesia platform into Fusion. And we're now working with the Japan team to see how can we work together, whether that's joint expansion, helping each other grow our portfolios, how we can support with commercial delivery, loyalty programs. So I think as a general framework and as a general management company, we become stronger in that sense. And now we are branching out to look at markets where Suchat feels there's great opportunities for development in Korea, continued development in Japan. We've now signed our first hotel in the Maldives. So I think what will do for us, we've had an expansion plan for the last 2 years, and that's been primarily us running around looking for contracts. But I think that whole process now is accelerated. And instead of us looking now to get to 50 hotels in 2028, 29, as a compliant platform, we're now looking to get to 100 plus hotels in that similar time frame.
Great, thank you. So Sebastian, you're looking for opportunities in Vietnam. Yep. What does a footprint of a Club Med look like, and where would you see the perfect fit for a Club Med in Vietnam?
The main product we would like to bring to Vietnam is our core Club Med beachfront property. Typically, this would require about 10 hectares because we will develop there all the necessary facilities for family entertainment, sports, and all-inclusive F&B. Even though we don't need 10 restaurants, we need to be able to cater and offer different experiences. As regarding the destinations, what is interesting about all-inclusive is that we are self-reliant. So in a sense, we don't need to be next to X number of restaurants, malls, other activities, or even other hotels. We have the ability to develop a bit anywhere. And one example for this is that I was mentioning earlier our Club Med Borneo that will open in November. This property is perhaps 60 kilometers from any other large-scale resort and development. And we have the capacity there to offer an amazing product full of excursion and so many activities to do for more than a week for our guests, but thanks to the all-inclusive. The second element that is also very specific to the Club Med business model is that we're also a distribution company. So 73% of our sales globally are done directly through Club Med. What this means is that when we bring a new property to that big family of 70 resorts, ski and beach resorts across the world, we are directly able to market it to our 1.5 million clients, and we're able to send people there. And so one of our next opening is going to be in Manado, Indonesia, where also there is no existing international resort supply. Of course, some amazing boutique diving facilities, but no large-scale properties. And we will be the first there. And the owners have put Club Med for this exact reason, because they know we have this ability, first to operate it with a very experiential product, bringing staff from all over the world, but also because they know we have, and one key factor when it comes to all-inclusive, we have the distribution power. And we have the brand recognition that people know. They've been to Club Med Hokkaido, they've been to Club Med Borneo, they've been to Club Med Seychelles, and they know they will find this consistency because it's a single brand. And they will be able to sort of trust us to take that step into discovering Manado. So what this means for Vietnam is that we have the ability in established destination to come in with a product that will be very different from the others, because it's going to be all-inclusive, super experiential, family groups around having fun. But we are also, and that can be a big value to the developers around here, we're also able to say, well, you have this amazing beachfront 2 hours from an airport where you have X hundreds of hectares to develop. Well, I'll tell you clearly, put a Club Med there. Because being the first, we'll be able to market it as a family destination, market it to all across Asia, because we've been operating, but also marketing through offices, sales offices all over Asia for more than 40 years. And therefore, we are able from day one to bring people there and bring occupancy there. And that will allow you to then develop the rest, also not cross-cannibalize, because some of the other operators here also have their own distribution channel. For instance, Club Med, we're not on OTAs. So we won't cannibalize ourselves on Booking.com or Expedia. So that's a good way, in a way, to market a destination as a new up-and-coming family, able to welcome the emerging sophisticated clientele from all over our regional markets that will be looking to try something different, because they've been to Phuket, they've been to Bali, they're going more and more to Phu Quoc. They will want to try something new, and that's where we will be.
Okay, terrific. Michael, last but not least down here, you guys did a fantastic job building Wink up to where it was. Now you've formed this relationship with Unscripted, with Hyatt. Take us through the decision. Why did you think that you had to form this partnership? Or was it always a plan?
I think, you know, as I look back, well, just to rewind back a bit, you know, when we created the brand, what we were looking to do is kind of fill a space that we didn't think was being filled in the market. The market was kind of saying, pay $300 for 5-star or take whatever you can get and deal with it and don't complain. So we wanted to create something that was aspirational, that could appeal to a younger, upwardly mobile demographic that wanted to stay somewhere that they could be proud of. We had always operated in a space where we were catering to the top 1% of earners in the super luxury segment, but we're watching Vietnam change, driven by low-cost carriers. Everyone was looking at international arrivals, but domestic travel is enormous, and it's growing. It continues to grow. We saw it's outstripping international quite significantly, so we saw that as the key opportunity. And then we sat down and we said, we want to create something that's scalable. We want to do this at scale. We want to do something that's profitable. So we wanted to create a model that is efficient on the P&L. So all our hotels, we operate 1 staff member per 5 rooms. We know payroll is the biggest expense, so we try to keep payroll low. We strip out the spas, we strip out the business centers, we strip out the ballrooms. We focus on the rooms margin, which is the most profit in a hotel. We wanted to create something that's desirable. We're the only hotel chain in Vietnam and maybe the world that offers 24-hour stays. So we wanted to break through conventional norms. Everyone gets breakfast, everyone could stay 24 hours, the bar is open 24 hours, the gym is open 24 hours. So we wanted to create something that totally stood out, and we wanted it to be sustainable. Every Wink hotel is LEED Gold certified. That's kind of the background of why we created what we created. And then kind of the problem was we built it, and we all came from a developer's background, and you've heard me say this before, we all came from a background of, you know, if you build it, they will come, location, 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 and we quickly learned in the hotel business, it's not about location, 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 it's about distribution, distribution, distribution. And so we had this aggressive rollout plan, opened 5 hotels in 5 years. Last week marked our 5th anniversary from opening our first hotel. I have 1,400 rooms to fill, and a little sales office in Ho Chi Minh City, kind of banging my head against the table saying, why aren't these rooms full? But it was naive of us to think that in today's world, you need a real engine to run commercially. And so I went to the board and said, there's 2 options here. You give me about $5 million in 10 years to build you an engine, or we go and use someone else's engine. So we went out and we met with some of the biggest operators in the world. We solicited proposals from those operators, and in the end, we decided to go with Hyatt. We had a relationship with them from building the Hyatt Regency in Da Nang, and we kind of believed that less would be more in this context. Hyatt had the smallest footprint in Vietnam out of the groups that we were speaking to. So when a customer of Hyatt's goes on www.hyatt.com for Vietnam, Wink has an enormous presence on that page, and the price disparity between the Park Hyatts, the Hyatt Regencies, et cetera, is enormous between our product and what we're seeing now. It's been 4 months since we've went into this partnership, is our revenues are up significantly. Our ADR is up something like 38% since we've joined. And what we're seeing is World of Hyatt members are staying longer. Our average normal Wink guest was staying about 1.6, 1.7 nights. World of Hyatt members are staying 2.3 nights. The average guest was spending 110,000 dong per night. The average World of Hyatt guest is spending 256,000 dong per night on additional spend. So far we're seeing it's a very successful collaboration. And it took a lot to kind of work through what are we doing and what are they going to be doing, because we have our own team, our own way of doing things, but we found with their brand, Unscripted by Hyatt, which celebrates spontaneity, select service, it was the right fit for us, and we maintain our very strong Wink identity, but we get the benefit now of global distribution and 65 million loyalty members behind us. So that's kind of the Wink story in a few minutes there.
Great. I'm glad it's working out for you. We're just about out of time, and I want to just ask an open question to the panel. You've seen the figures that Mauro has put up on screen. You've seen the figures that Jesper had put up. It's really nice to come to these conferences and see Vietnam at the top of the lists when historically we've been one of the laggards of, you know, lots of opportunity, but it'll come, it'll come, it'll come. Well, in 2025, it seemed like it started to come. So putting aside what's going on in the Middle East right now and looking another 2-3 years ahead, what do you see for the future of Vietnam? 21.5 million arrivals last year. I guess we're going to have a little bit of a blip because of the Middle East. But where do we go in 5 years' time? What do you, the panel, see for the long-term future for tourism and hospitality in Vietnam? Who wants to do? You, Michael, you go.
I think the growth will continue, obviously on a pretty rapid trajectory. I think the key will be, you know, the government has made pretty significant commitments about infrastructure investment and growth. You know, going back to some of the earlier discussions from Daniel, like access, access, access. If you cannot get people to these destinations, no matter how many hotel rooms we build, it's not going to make a difference. So making sure we have enough airports, making sure there's not bottlenecks in the airports like we're starting to see in Saigon, making sure that it is a pleasant experience, there's proper roads to drive on, there's proper supporting infrastructure, entertainment. That will be the key that determines how far Vietnam could go. And then Vietnam will have a choice. Do we want to focus on quality or quantity? Do we want to become, how big do we want to get? And at what point do we become a yielding market where we really focus on rate growth rather than just expanding numbers? And I think that's what we should all be thinking about, is quality over quantity, because we don't want to run down this, this beautiful country we're so blessed to work in.
David, you?
Look, 2025 was the best year we've ever had, by far. And we operate properties in some tier 2 locations, and even in tier 2 locations, we were performing well. And we almost felt last year that it was a product of a bit of a dip in Thailand because of the situation that Thailand had. So we were actually a bit cautious this year with our budgets. And so far this year, we're probably 30% ahead of where we were last year. So it just continues to get stronger and stronger. And I agree with Michael. I think it's really a lot about infrastructure. I think the Long Island Airport opening is going to really help. I also think that to sustain it over the course of the next 3, 4, 5 years, it's really going to come down to how well does Vietnam market itself. Now there's a ton of interest coming from Asia Pacific and other regions. There's a ton of interest. They're working on the connectivity. Now it's how do we get the message out about the quality of the destinations that we have in Vietnam. And I think if we're successful in doing that, we're going to continue to see it grow.
Okay, terrific. I'm sorry, we're going to have to wrap things up. I know that we could talk about it here forever because I think we've got a coffee break outside, yes? Okay, so I'd like to thank my panel. Please join me in thanking them. And thank everyone for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, our moderator and speaker. Please remain on stage for group photo later. And to everyone, we have 15 minutes for tea break. Please come back here because we have Philippe, STARCK, and other excellent speakers and topics. Thank you and enjoy your break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second part of MTE. In this section in the Grand Ballroom, we'll start with the mega trends, investment, and residential talks. So let's kick off the second part right now. And then at 6 p.m., we have more food and wine and networking time for everyone. Now let's begin with mega trend section, a presentation on branded residence and ultra luxury. Please join me in welcoming Uyên Nguyễn, Associate Director from Savills Hotels. Please move to the right side here, the left side here. We have more seats here, and then we can start the program now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Uyên. I'm Associate Director at Savills Hotels, and it's a pleasure for me to be here today on the big stage to talk about a very trendy product, branded residence. Now, let's start with the first questions. What is branded residence? Well, to make it simple, we can understand that branded residence are where hospitality meets real estate. So the developer will partner with a brand, pay the license fee so that the developer can use the brand for the sales and marketing of the properties. And after sales, the brands will also manage the property to ensure the quality of the management service and the building. Okay, so now why branded residence has become so popular? Because today, the buyer, they're not just looking for a villa or an apartment. They're looking for a personalized lifestyle. They're looking for exclusivity, for privacy, for high quality products. And branded residence can assure those factors. Now, looking here at several hotels, we have categorized branded residence into 3 types. First is co-located or mixed-use developments. So this is probably the most common types in Vietnam. We have the branded residence. It's part of a larger complex with office, retail, or the hotels. Second is the condo hotels, where the branded residence and the hotel share the same towers. So this will be a little bit more complex if the projects had limited GFA, because in this case, the developer and the brand has to decide whether the buyer, they're looking for a product just to, for rental return, or they just simply want to use the residence for themselves, because this decision will impact the design of the facility, the circulation, and the entrance of the building. And third is the standalone branded residence. So you may see that it looks very simple, but actually this is one of the most complicated model, because without the hotel component attached to it, the developer and the brand need to decide the level of service to offer to the residents, because this will impact your planning of the facility, number of the staff, and the operating budget of the building. All of these will finally be reflected into the management fees. Now, looking back at the history, branded residence was first developed in North America and still until today remain the dominant. However, in the past decade, we have seen rapid growth in Asia Pacific and in the Middle East, because there's a lot of pipelines in a few countries in these markets. Now, looking into the top 10 locations for branded residence, we have the USA and the UAE are still the leading markets, thanks to the high concentration of high net worth individuals in the market. But in Southeast Asia, we also have 2 countries make it to the top 10. And surprisingly, Vietnam is ranked number 4 globally. As you can see here on the chart, in terms of completed projects, we are still behind Thailand, but we have a much stronger pipeline, which has positioning Vietnam as the leading market of branded residence in APAC. Okay, now talking about the brand, of course the brand is very important because they contribute to the price premium of the products. And based on our statistics, globally, Ritz-Carlton is the most preferred brand, and followed by Four Seasons. And you can see that these 2 brands have a significant gaps with the others, so we can assure that they will stay in the top 2 in the next few years. Now, if you're looking at the management companies, Marriott is also in the top 1, and then followed by Accor. So these 2 companies, they have a lot of brands that can offer to developer in different segments and different locations. So that's why they are in the top 2. Now, moving into Vietnam, we will have see that the branding dynamics is a bit different. We have Intercontinental is as number 1 because they have been in the market for a long time. They have few strategic partners here. And Melia, thanks to the success of Melia Hotel, they have been able to secure more deals. And we have a new star here, which is World Hotels from Best Western. They haven't had any completed project yet, but just in 1 year, they have signed 5 deals, making them number 3. And in terms of management company, we have IHG in number 1. Actually, last year when I did this presentation, Accor was number 1. But you can see that the gaps of these companies are very small, so this ranking will change very quickly. So in the branded residence space, it's not just about the race of the hotel operators. We also see a lot more, non-hotel brand trying to get the market share. Here you can see that we have furniture brand, F&B brand. We even have the US resident brand. But this category is still very limited in Vietnam. We have only a few projects that have been announced, like Nobu, Elisaf, or Trump International. And their pipeline is very limited compared to the hotel branded residents. And globally, we have Hieu in by STARCK is the leading brand in this category. And in just a few minutes, we're going to hear from the legendary designer Philippe Starck himself. Okay, so what is the difference between the hotel brands and the non-hotel brands? So basically, with the hotel brand, you will get benefits from the global brand awareness. Also, consistency in brand standard. They can provide exceptional management service for your project. And for the non-hotel brands, they target a more niche market. Let's say they will focus more on design, on the brand identity, and they also offer more flexibility in terms of brand standards and design operations. However, for non-hotel brand, the brand will only provide the license to use for the sales. They do not have the management arm to provide service to your properties, so you need to work with a third-party asset management company to provide management service for your projects. This is already my last slide. I will want to focus more into Vietnam situations. You know what? Branded residents have started in Vietnam in the coastal destination with Four Seasons Da Nam Hai, Six Sands Con Đảo, Hyatt Regency Da Nang, and have traditionally been very popular in these coastal destinations. For urban branded residents, this product had just entered Vietnam a few years back then, with Grand Marina introducing the dual brand JW Marriott and Marriott to the market. However, this year, we see a turning point. For the first time ever, we have more urban branded resident units than those in the coastal area. And this shift is contributed by a very strong pipeline, as you can see here in Hanoi. And in Hanoi, right now, there's only one completed project, but we have a lot of units in the pipeline, and all of the pipelines are developed by a single developer. Another interesting point is that the differentiation in positioning. Well, globally, the branded resident, they will fall into the ultra-luxury and luxury segment, with nearly 70% are in this category. But in Vietnam, especially in urban locations like Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, and Bình Dương, we have a very different situation. Only 18% are in the luxury and ultra-luxury. The remaining are into the mid-scale until upper upscale segment. So what does this mean? This means that in the next few years, we will see more branded resident projects moving from the CBDs to second-tier areas and moving away from the luxury into more affordable price points. But what makes branded residents unique is their ability of the brand to deliver exceptional hospitality service into the residents. And the key questions will be, how can the brand still maintain the service quality and the brand value if they are moving into, let's say, more affordable segment? And I think to answer these questions, we will have to wait and see for developers, the hotel operator, to prove it in the market in the next few years. Thank you. That is the end of my presentation. And if you want to know more about branded residents, you can find me at Savills Hotels.
Thank you, Ms. Uyên. If you need any support on planning for your branded resident projects, please contact Ms. Uyên and Mauro. They will be around. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to welcome one of the most influential designers of our time. Philippe Starck has spent over 4 decades redefining how we live. From the private apartments of the Elysee Palace to the International Space Station. His work spanned hotels, architecture, furniture, and iconic everyday objects used by millions, including the Chusey Salif and the Ghost Chair. He is here today in conversation with the representative of Nhà Real Estate. Before we invite him on stage, please enjoy a short film highlighting his remarkable creations.
Mr. Philippe Stark.
Yes.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. On behalf of Nhà Estate and the MTE, we are very happy to welcome you to Vietnam and on this stage.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, you are a world-famous visionary creator of our town. You've been working across all domains, from everyday products to architecture, naval, spatial engineering. We've seen some of your amazing works in the video just then. Now, could you please tell us, how would you define yourself?
$1.8 billion years ago, that changed every day. We was amebia, very stupid amebia, very stupid, more stupid than stone. But by luck, for some reason, we become a fish, we become a frog. It's not exactly true, but it's for the image. We become a monkey. We become a super monkey, what we are today. We are almost at the half of the story, because around 1.2 billion years, the sun will implode and we shall explode. And if we can imagine the amebia we was and what we are today, it's incredible. The story of our animal species, it's of what we said today, unique. We are genius. We are wonderful. We are astonishing. And this process is called evolution. It's the only thing which interests me. How amebia can go to the moon and go to Mars in the few years. It's the most beautiful book I never read. I'm sorry for my English. I'm sorry for my English globally. It's the most beautiful movie. I think it's the only thing interesting in the world except love. That's why I have dedicated my life to try to participate to evolution, to try to have the honor to participate to evolution. I am absolutely not intelligent, but I have some intuition and abnormal power of concentration, which give me the possibility to work on everything like that. You saw in the image. That's what I do. What I do, it's what I can to help my animal species to become better and better every day. That's all. That's my job.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Philippe. So, I think one of the things that really interests people about you and your extraordinary mind is the process that begins with an idea. We've been talking about it, a vision, something intangible. And how does your creative process work to start from that vision, something different, a dream, something very intangible, and actually end up with something you can build or something you can hold? And how does that process work?
First, I shall try to explain you, but don't try to copy. Because at the base, it's a mental sickness. I have a mental sickness, and the syndrome of this mental sickness, the symptom, is the exaggerate power of creativity. I don't judge of the quality, I judge of the quantity. That's why usually I never speak, but you oblige me. They oblige me to come here and to do it. I try, mainly with my subconscious, not with my consciousness, try to understand almost everything. When I speak with you, I am very interested by the diffraction of the light in the glass here. I think about the temperature of the light, 5,100 Kelvin, and things like that. That means when there is a question I ask for myself, or somebody asks for me, I have strangely, astonishingly, always the answer. And sometimes the answer is not completely stupid. That's why I repeat, I don't know make addition, I don't know make a division, I almost don't know my alphabet, but I know make rocket. Without rocket.
Make a rocket, yes.
And there is strictly no process except to be a farmer of my own subconsciousness and to see what is abnormal, what is not good for us, for the evolution, what is good, what is missing, and I try to answer in my way. And because the base, the information, the process, I repeat, is abnormal, my answer is very often abnormal. I never I never make a project for the project. I absolutely don't care about this chair. I make this chair for many reasons. By examples, I give you an example. There is a lot of design. There is a lot of good design. And there is a lot of very strong design. And that make me question, it was 30 years ago it was done, I said perhaps it's too much to live with. Because we don't dedicate our life to be impressed by a chair. And I remember that I have friends I love who speak a lot, and I have friends I love who speak less. And I have the choice. I can choose with who I want to speak or not speak. And I decide the same thing. Why I shall not try to find in our common Occidental, but I do it also for Asian, memory, a sort of common place Like when a children, you ask to design a house, the children will make something like this with one door, two windows, and a chimney. To make a sort of the square roots of our memory about a chair. Louis XIV, Louis XVI, something like that. That is one part of the reason to exist of this. The other reason is if you analyze the intelligent part of the human production, because there is an intelligent part of human production, you see there is not a strategy, a process, which is very clear, which is called disparation, dematerialization. Dematerialization. That means since the beginning, we reduce the materiality and we increase the intelligence of the power. If you remember, you cannot because you are too young, the first computer, it was a building like this. After it was a small house. After there was a crate, which was a big closet where was a bug. After it was a big suitcase, after a small suitcase, after it was an envelope, and now it's under the skin. What we have now, or what we shall have tomorrow night, under the skin, is 1 million more powerful than the first building. That means the law of dematerialization exists every day, even for small things. If you see the first Hawaiian surfboard, there was perhaps 5 or 6 meters. Now, my daughter have one of 1.50 m, which is a lot better. That's why it was, at this time and still now, impossible to dematerialize a chair, but I give a clue of the future, which is dematerialization. One day we shall have not it. And this day is not too far.
I think that leads to...
That's why to answer that your question, finally, there is never a project I do without a philosophy, the word, philosophy, a rule, a project, something like that, and finally the project. The project is the end of the end. And I can tell you the project don't interest me. Only the first part interests me.
That's very interesting answer.
I am too long. I saw Earth is...
And for those who don't know yet, this chair is one of thousands and thousands products that Mr. Philippe Starck has been designed in the past. Yeah. And so, Mr. Philippe Starck, there's a lot of my colleagues and people in this room are working in what we call true luxury, hospitality, and architecture. So you have been challenged a lot about the idea of what luxury is. Now, could you please tell us what is true luxury for you, especially in hospitality and architecture?
First, we have to analyze what you heard, what you understand by luxe and luxury. I have not a very good opinion of this word now, because today luxury is show the power of your money. Luxury is, look, I can buy this jet, I can buy this Rolls Royce, I can buy this big diamond, I can, not because I want it, it's because I want to show it. And it's a very vulgar power. That means my neighbor who have not make so much money is a bad person because he has the same money? No, that cannot exist. You don't build the world on negative value. That's why for me, I try to never make luxury, never. Even when I make, like you saw perhaps, the biggest selling boat in the world by billions, it's not a luxury, because for me it's a laboratory of new process, of new patent, and after we can apply it like I do now. It's my subject of this week, on a regular boat or something else. For me, luxury have to be replaced perhaps by talentuous, intelligent quality. It's about quality before everything. When something, an engineer, anybody makes something intelligent, that it's a quality. When a designer is enough smart to not fall in the trap of trend, and he can make, which is very difficult, something timeless with a longevity, which is one of the first parameters of ecology, we can say it's intelligent and it's quality. That's why today luxury is driven by money. Me, I think quality is driven by ethics. Ethics, I don't know. Ethics, thank you.
So, last question, I'm realizing we're quite short on time. So bringing it back to the reason that you'll come to Vietnam this time and visit our friends from Apple Tree Group and LAFO, we're developing a project here. The things that you've talked about, that process, that vision, the idea of bringing a project that deserves to have life, has that applied at Nha and your process here?
But always in order, you have to remember, especially you, if you want beautiful children, you have to be in love with your husband. There is no beautiful children with a love affair. Me, I have a love affair with my partner here, Eric, Jean-Marc, Stéphane. I love these people, and because I love them, I trust them when they bring me here, and I rediscover your country. I rediscover the people here, the Vietnamese people, and I rediscover you are very good people, very interesting, good people, and we are perhaps one of the last tribe with a human value. And that's why I am here. And when they bring me on the land to make the development, I said that it's the right place. It's the right place because the subject is to make a village, a community. And any village, city, or community in the world always start by a very simple process. There is people who have to escape from a war, from another. There is nothing, no more food. There is a typhus, something like that, and they are obliged to leave. A lot of civilization die like that, and they go, they walk, and at night there is old people, children, they are exhausted, and they have to stop. But they cannot stop anywhere. They have to stop with few parameters. The few parameters are they will stop where there is fresh water. We have it. They will stop where there is something to eat. By example, fish on the sea. We have it. They will need wood to make shelter, but more to make fire. We have it. And they need hills to see if there is other enemy which can arrive. We built it. And that makes the ideal piece to grow a community. And a community always starts by a fire. At night it's called, and they make a fire, and there is people around the fire, and other people in the same situation see the fire, and they come and they make the second ring, after third ring, and that becomes a city. This project is made not in the dirty business things. It's a real vision on what can be, what have to be a community with a human, I'm sorry for my English, human quality, human scale, and things like that. And they are enough intelligent, enough crazy to understand that, and we make something completely different. Sadly, with my poor wife, we take the plane every day, and we quite know the world. And I live in a lot of development like that. beautiful small house on the river, on the sea, something like that. There is billion like that. But when you see it, when you live it, you have just a feeling to be in a parking lot, to be a car parked with other car in a parking lot. There is no urbanism, no humanity, no sentimentality, no love anywhere, and at the end, it's like dying. We shall be the contrary. We shall be the contrary. We create a village where everybody can meet, they have good reason. We have this feeling of adventure, of something wild. We have a very, very iconic way to build the buildings with a story of heaviness and lightness, and always the view. We shall be perhaps the only development where we can guarantee that everybody will have the same best view, which is important. We shall never be on the back of somebody. We can guarantee by the quality of everything, because we don't use 1 kilo of painting. If you see it's gray, it's because it's stone. If you see it's brown, it's because it's wood. If you see it's black, because perhaps metal, something like that. And by the style and the quality, we guarantee a sort of eternity. That means today you buy your beautiful dress for yourself and for 3 months. That is obsolete. Now, a dress or a property have to be bought for you, your life, for your children and grandchildren at minima. That's why we work differently, and the projects will be different, will appeal people will be different, and perhaps, we hope, why not, a new model.
I think we have a little glimpse of the project to show. I think you're talking quite abstract, because people, it's a secret at the moment, our project. Many people don't know what it's about. So if we can give them just a 1 minute glimpse.
It's a very, very small part of image, because my wife don't want we show it.
But thank you very much for your insights.
It's a great pleasure.
And
Thank
we'll
you
have
again.
a quick look
Thank
at
you.
Nya. Thank
Ladies
you so
and
much.
gentlemen, please join me in thanking Mr. Philippe Starck. Thanks again for your time. Thank you so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to show you a taste of what Nya Estate to become.
We were searching for a bold vision, someone who could bring its full potential. We needed to be Starck.
When people ask me where I live, I feel obliged to answer elsewhere. I am in a world of my own little role. Everything starts there with intuition, which turns into vision, and then the elsewhere can become somewhere. Yeah. INNOVATOR is one of these places, a sanctuary of humanity, honesty, and harmony. A place to become more love, more life, more human. Yeah, is an elsewhere in Vietnam.
Thank you very much, everyone, again. I hope you have a beautiful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippe Starck and Nya Estate. Moving on to the next trends on branding, I'd like to introduce our next speaker from Hieu. Please welcome Catherine Edwards.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, everybody. Very nice to be here again at MTE here in Ho Chi Minh City. Very hard act to follow after Philippe Starck just now, but I hope to keep you entertained for another 10 minutes or so. So today I'm going to be talking about brands, brands in both the hospitality and the real estate space. But I want to start with a couple of personal stories. I think, in the world of branding, it's important to connect with the things that you think about yourself as an individual. I go back maybe 5-6 years to 2020, in the middle of COVID. I made the crazy decision to buy a property in the north of England. Not sure what came over me. Something in the moment of COVID decided I wanted to buy. I reached out to various real estate developers, to agents, and I was sent a whole bunch of prospectus, of brochures, of websites. But nothing inspired me. Nothing really connected with me. And even though I was buying for investment, I still wanted to feel something about what I was buying into. And then one afternoon, I opened my email, and I'd received an article about a property in the north of England called Union Lofts. And there was something about it that gripped me. It was a story of a Victorian conversion, an old industrial building. It had an interesting name. The developer had a clear vision about bringing premium real estate to the city centre. And before I'd even run the numbers, before I even knew if it was commercially viable for me, I found myself falling in love. A property I would never actually live in myself. But I was hooked by the idea of this lifestyle, by the idea of the experience. Fast forward to February of this year. I was staying in a small resort on the island of Koh Phangan in Thailand. And again, same experience. This resort was nothing special. A small, nondescript, fairly basic property, but it had a soul. It had a vibe about it. It had a story. It had a clear community, a sense of belonging, amazing food, great drinks, and the team who worked there, they lived and breathed the culture of that place. They knew who they were and who they were working for. And I spoke to one of the co-owners, and he told me they run at 90% occupancy pretty much year-round. It's an independent small resort in Koh Phangan, but it achieved 90% occupancy year-round. Two different stories, two very different properties, two very different markets, but one truth. Brand makes a difference. Brand allows you to stand out, even in a crowded market. If you know who you are, if you have that emotional clarity, if you have a clear identity, if you have a consistent experience for your guests, you create commercial value, and the brand is behind that. But there's a catch. That same property that I loved in Koh Phangan, I looked it up on ChatGPT. I ran a very specific search. I channeled the consumer I believe they're going after. It didn't come up. It didn't come up at all. Not until I specified the exact beach location did it actually come up in the search results, which points to the challenge in today's world that we all face. In today's digital world, it's not enough just to be a brand that people love. You've got to be a brand that can be found, that can be discovered on the numerous platforms and media that exist out there. In fact, a recent report from Deloitte found that there is 40 times more content out there than there is than we can actually capture in terms of our human attention. Human attention is now the scarcity in today's digital world, and this is a huge problem for brands, both property, real estate, and hospitality alike. We see this challenge every day at Quo. We see our clients challenged by this constant pull and push between chasing engagement, those short-term wins, the likes, the shares, the hype, the trends, or going for the long term, trying to build value, trying to build loyalty, emotional connection, lasting memory. We believe that the winners exist on the right-hand side. exist on the right-hand side of this paradigm. In fact, at Quo, we believe that you need to look at your brands as much more than simply a logo, a color palette, or a campaign. Brands, we see brands as dynamic, living ecosystems. They exist with a strong core at the center, knowing who you are, your point of view, your perspective, your audience, what difference do you make? And around that core, your brand comes to life across a multitude of different dimensions. I'm going to take you through those one by one. The first is spaces. So this is the physical spaces of your brand, whether it's the interiors, the architecture. We just heard from Philippe Starck, and we can see how important it is to have that defined look and feel of your space. But even also your digital spaces, your UX, the sensory cues of your brand. Secondly, experience. These are those touch points. We call them the moments of truth, the signatures that your brand becomes famous for. Maybe it's a specific welcome experience, something that happens in the room, something that happens in one of your dining outlets or a bar. Behavior. This is the way your teams live and breathe the values of your brand, how they behave, how they interact with your guests and your customers, how they greet them, the kind of language they use, how formal or informal that language is. All of that talks to your brand, the personality of your brand. The product. This is what you're offering to your customers. Think about IKEA, and their core product is flat pack furniture. If IKEA suddenly started making fully made furniture you can just pick up and take to your home, it wouldn't be IKEA, it would be off-brand. So that's your product. Community, really important in today's world. This is your guests, your followers, your fans, the wider community of your hotel or your residents, collaborators, co-creators, partners, all of the different stakeholders and partners that you work with day in and day out to make your brand a reality. And finally, your identity. This is how you look and feel as a brand. Your name, your logo, your colors, your fonts, your tone of voice, the way you speak, the language that you use. All 6 of these facets are critical activations of your core. But first, you need to understand your core. What is it that you stand for? Who are you? Why do you even exist? We heard from Michael Pero earlier from Indochina Kojima about the success of Wink. Wink is a brand that we co-created with Indochina Kojima about 6 or 7 years ago. It's now been operating for 5 years, and I think we can see the success this brand has had. Now 6 properties, 2,000 rooms, and has just been brought under the Hyatt portfolio. This is a brand, much like I was describing, that believed in defining its core, that believed in needing to answer a genuine consumer need, and then bringing that to life across those different dimensions. At Wink, the core idea is based around this concept of what we called Indochine 2.0. It was for the new generation of Vietnamese travelers. It was a bold, modern expression of Vietnamese lifestyle. In its spaces were shophouse-inspired, multifunctional, flexible, social hubs. Its experience was starting with the feeling we want the guest to experience and then building the touch points from that feeling. Behavior. The staff act as local experts, guiding and curating the guests as they go about their stay. The product, as Michael was referring to earlier, 24-hour stays, tech-forward, LEED certificated. All of those different elements define and are core to the DNA of what Wink has become. Community. Wink relies on collaborations, on partnerships, on bringing the local people into the hotel. And finally, identity. We called it Wink for a reason. We wanted this brand to have a little wink of the eye, to be a little bit quirky, a little bit fun, irreverent, to create an impression, an immediate impression when you see that sleek, typeface, when you see the little red above the eye, every detail of that identity was created to express the personality of the brand Wink is. So I want to leave you with 3 key takeaways today, 3 key imperatives for building independent brands. The first is find your niche. Figure out which part of the world you're operating in. Where is your positioning? Not in a generic way, but really dig deep. If you're generic, if you're run-of-the-mill, if you're vanilla, you will not be found on search. You just won't. And this will get harder and harder in the world of AI. So define your niche as deeply as you dare. Go as narrow as you can. Make sure you're found. The second one, figure out which platforms, which languages, which audiences you're talking to, and make sure those audiences can find you. Number 3, commit to the long game. This is not about short-term hype or immediate likes. It's not about a campaign strategy. We see too often clients coming to us and saying they want a brand, but actually they end up wanting a campaign. Start with your brand and let the campaign follow, because then at least you have that core defined. You know who you are. Build value, not just visibility. Independent brands need clarity, and they need the courage to commit. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, for your presentation. It's the 2 trends that you should not miss, AI and F&B. For the topic of AI, please join me in welcoming Cheon Pion, co-founder and CEO of Mizumi AI.
Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Hi. Sorry I don't look like this. I used to look like this 2 years ago, but not anymore. But anyhow, very nice to meet you. It's been my dream to speak on this stage since I saw Mauro present 3 years ago for the first time. So it's an honor to be here with everyone today. So anyhow, my name is Jung. I'm an ex-hotelier. I managed close to 30 properties in my life. I still consult for some luxury properties in the US, Europe, and South America. But I also own a company called Mizumi. And today I want to introduce to you about our company, but also to really help you decide how you should move forward with AI strategy in the future. So, and this is the thing, when I talk about AI, a lot of people give me this expression like, oh my God, not another AI company and not another demo about how to do prompts and things like that. No, that's not what I'm here for. You see, the thing is, everyone's talking about AI, but the question is, well, if everyone's talking about AI, how come the industry is not already taken over by AI yet? Right? That's the big question. And there's a good reason for that. You see, the AI companies in our industry, unfortunately, have not really been focusing on doing what hoteliers actually do. You see, they wanted to quickly launch something out in the market. Now, if you look at this example here, and this is one of the largest hotel tech company in the world. And here I'm asking a simple question, like, hey, can I bring cats to your hotel? And the AI agent is actually asking me to rephrase my question. So what is the actual underlying problem in this example? See, the problem is that a lot of AI agents don't understand the context of the conversation. They can't actually connect the dots. Dog, pet, cat, pet, even hamster can be a pet, right? But unless you specifically train the agent, hey, if the guest asks about cat, then respond like this, then it won't be able to respond properly. So this is our biggest challenge in our industry today. The second challenge is hallucination. So I'm sure you've heard about this already, but this is actually a big problem in our industry. So in this example, by the way, it's from a luxury 5-star hotel in Hong Kong. I'm asking, hey, where can I get Korean food? And it gave me a response instantly. And it said, hey, you should go to Daengji, because there's it's a very good Korean restaurant, variety of Korean dishes, very good setting. Now, as a Korean, I thought, well, Daengji doesn't sound very Korean. So I Googled it, and it's Chinese restaurant, Sichuan cuisine. And so the other week I asked, hey, where can I go get Korean barbecue? And it directed me to a sushi, like an omakase restaurant. And this happens because in the AI industry, there's a trade-off between speed and accuracy. And a lot of companies out there, they believe that speed is the utmost importance. And so if the AI agent cannot find an answer in 2-3 seconds, it will grab whatever is out there and say, hey, you should go here. So what does that mean? Does that mean, hey, you know what, we should just kind of take a step back from AI and wait until it's ready? Well, no, because just because you don't use AI, it doesn't mean that your problems go away. And what are the problems that we have in the industry today? So number one is that the youth are not interested in hospitality. So a lot of hotels, they report that they've been able to fill up all the positions. And then you have one guest scream at the agent, and that's it. The person goes and submits a resignation. You see, I consult for a hotel called Casa Cipriani in New York, one of the most luxurious hotels, ADR over $2,000. We compete directly with Aman. It took us 2 months to hire one reservation agent, and that person quit after 2 weeks, so it took us another month to hire a reservation agent. That's the reality of the industry today. Second thing is, yes, hiring and training is difficult. Retention is even more difficult. Labor costs are increasing everywhere. You don't have agents working 24 hours a day anymore. And if you do, you probably have the good ones working during the day, so-so ones working during the night, and you lose business as a result. Your agents don't speak multiple languages. But as hoteliers, we know international business is always better than local business, because they stay for longer lengths of stay and they're less price sensitive. But how do you capture the business when your agents can't speak that language? So what happens is the OTAs actually come in and they take that market share. Now, this is where we come in. So as a company, what we decided to do is we gathered a group of hoteliers. So Mizumi has been invested by my ex-colleagues at Four Seasons, even my ex-boss, and a variety of hoteliers out there, including hotel owners and so on. And we all got together and we trained an AI on how to actually think, act, and talk like a hotelier. I'll give you a very simple example. Mizumi will never say yes. She will always say certainly. She will never say I'm sorry. She will say my sincere apologies. Very, very basic examples, but we have 100 words like this that she's not allowed to say. And it's a lot more than that. You see, the AI industry today, a lot of people are focusing on the language model. They're focusing on the chatbot element, but that's only the beginning. An AI agent can do so much more than that. You see, if you take one step back, and I'm not sure if that slide is in here. Okay, it's not. All right, so if you just take one step back and you think about what hospitality is all about, it was all about personalization of experiences, of guest experience and your sales strategy. I started my career at Ritz-Carlton in Portugal. I worked at Relais Chateau Hotels, Four Seasons, and so on and on. And it was always about how do we capture the guest preferences so that the next time the guest makes a reservation with us, we don't ask the questions again. We know, oh, this guest wants to be on high floor, away from the elevator, oh, his kid is allergic to chocolate, so we should not put in the welcome truffles in there, so on and on and on. We should know that. And if the guest, for example, always stays in the standard room, but we know the guest is not price sensitive, then why don't we try to upsell this guest into a suite? All these kind of things that people do, you can actually train your AI to do it. You just need to have a good trainer. And this is the important part. That's why at Mizumi, we hired full-time, ex-Four Seasons front office manager, reservations managers, and so on. And all they do is they train Mizumi all day to talk and think like an agent. But that's not the only thing. You see, an AI can do a whole lot more than that. You can actually use the guest preferences to retarget the guest as well. Imagine, telling your AI, hey, Mizumi, give me a list of all the guests that stayed in our hotel in the last 100 days and complained about breakfast. And the AI actually gives you the whole list of the guests. And you say, hey, just create this promo code, including breakfast for free, and send it out to everybody on this list with an apology for their previous experience. Let them know about our new chef, our new breakfast menu, and invite them back. And imagine that you, as a guest, receive this message on WhatsApp, Zalo, WeChat, whatever it is that you use. And the AI agent says, hey, we would love to welcome you back. May I please assist you with your booking? And actually follows through the entire process right in the chat. And so this is only going to be possible if your AI agent is connected directly to your PMS, so that the AI can actually pull inventory availability, rate codes, guest profiles, and everything, and actually more than that. And the AI agent that you use should be connected to all the channels that your guests actually use to communicate with. So in this market, if the AI agent is not connected to Zalo, why are you even entertaining the idea of using this agent in the first place? So, and something else that we thought about as a team is, all right, language is great, but modern consumers actually are very addicted to images, right? Consumers like videos, pictures, and so on. They don't want to read a whole book when they ask for recommendations and so on. So we created a patented tech that transforms into anything. It could be pictures, it could be videos, it could be maps. It can even transform into a booking engine, whatever it is. We've also had my ex-colleagues in the sales and catering department to train Mizumi to be able to capture group business and event business. We've had tremendous success at My House Saigon here. We're capturing one event business in every 3 days. I'm actually very shocked, because when I sold Mizumi to the hotel, I told them, well, even if we capture one group business a month, you're going to make more than enough ROI. And it turns out that the Vietnamese consumers are very comfortable chatting with AI agents. And they will say, hey, Mizumi, I need a meeting space for next week for 100 people. I need AV, I don't need F&B, and I don't need guest rooms. And this kind of request is coming in one in every 3 days, not even exaggerating. But anyhow, so you can train your AI to be able to do something like that. And just a snippet of the future, AI today can even do cold calling. And so that's coming as well. Oh, that's an example I gave earlier. Of course, a proper AI should be able to speak in any language in the world. What you should also do is, instead of relying on Google Translation or ChatGPT and so on, you actually retrain your AI to be able to speak the right language. So earlier I was talking about absolutely, certainly, my apologies and so on. Those kind of languages exist for almost every language out there. And so just make sure that you use a solution that has been well trained. Just a bonus thing is that, sometimes a hotelier has to take over the conversation, and when they do, does your AI actually help communication between the hotelier and the guest? That's very important as well. And of course, again, your AI should be connected to everything out there, whether it's WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Zalo, so on and on. I was going to show you a demo, but I think we're a little bit short of time. So if you do find me walking around the hallway, I'm very happy to just take out my laptop from my backpack and give you a full demo. So just please come and just find me walking around. Yeah. Just one more thing I do want to say here is just one very important takeaway. Again, I just keep emphasizing this: is whether you work with us or whether you work with somebody else, don't choose your vendor based on how techy they are. Because trust me, I've worked with a lot of tech people out there in the last few years, and it's not a matter of technology, it's actually the understanding of the trade. So how much do they understand hospitality? That's the important thing. And of course, I'm sure we're not the only ones. I'm sure there are other vendors out there as well, but make sure you ask that question. Yeah? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Cheon. Coming up next is about F&B story. Please welcome Rohit, CEO of Seoul Hospitality.
Hi, everyone. I'm the CEO and founder of Soho Hospitality. We are transforming F&B concepts around the world, doing experience transformation in Asia, Middle East, and Europe. We also own 7 brands that are traveling worldwide and looking forward to transforming some experiences here in Vietnam. Today, I'm going to talk to you about our philosophy of experience by design so that you can learn how to create the next winning F&B concept. About 6 years ago, the COVID pandemic was a catalyst in driving exponential growth in the food delivery business, and that changed the definition of dining. During the pandemic, dining didn't mean going out, but staying in and having the food come to you. Fast forward after the pandemic ended, I was traveling around the world and I was telling people that the next phase of dining would all be about entertainment. And it would not be just about food and beverage anymore, but experiential programming would now take center stage. 6 years later, it still holds true. But restaurants keep making the mistake of sticking to the same rhetoric, and that's why they have failed. Many F&B concepts have failed primarily because there's too much emphasis on interior design in a siloed approach, and less focus on the other experiential elements. Experiential programming is lacking, and the one thing we see is that marketing professionals still don't understand how to market a restaurant. At Soho Hospitality, we have a philosophy called Experience by Design, where every experiential element is researched, planned, and executed with an excruciating amount of detail so that there's nothing left for chance, there's nothing left for arbitration. In order to go through the Experience by Design philosophy, you need to understand our experience stack. The first aspect of the stack is really the positioning strategy, and that's where you define what you are, but specifically what you are not. What's Your Story is really about the storytelling and the narrative which holds the core to the overall concept. And then once we have that narrative defined, we start going into defining all of the various design components one by one. In terms of engineering the food and beverage offering, we look at creating a menu that focuses on high yield, high margin, and high popularity items in order to increase the average per cover and yield to the restaurant's balance sheet. And then it's all about experiential programming in terms of bringing in those recurring rituals to surprise the customers in a delightful way. And then it's really about training to get the service standards in place. At Soho Hospitality, we believe in the philosophy of improving 1% every day, and if you improve 1% every day, over a year, it compounds to 37%. Experience by Design is driven by two main components. One is the atmosphere, and the other one is the programming. From the atmosphere, it's pretty much about the interior design, the lighting, uniforms, tabletops, music programming, and brand collaterals. There was a research done recently that said that playing the right kind of music in a restaurant can drive revenues and dwell time by up to 10%. And at a time in which customers easily go from infatuation to entitlement, the programming is really, really important so that we're always keeping the brand ahead of the pack. So we do that by introducing events, collaborations, rituals, with the idea of turning our restaurant into a community. The community aspect is the most intangible, most difficult, and probably not revenue generating, but actually it's the one that in the long term actually drives revenues and loyalty. Then it's all about defining the guest journey. We look at layering the experience so that the intrigue and the excitement of the brand builds as the customer enters the arrival experience, is greeted by a hostess. Hopefully she's taking their data at that time, which is super important. And then the hostess brings the guest into the restaurant. The waiter introduced the overall concept. He recites his script in an organic but not contrived way. And then he's taking their orders and recommending the high popularity, high margin items. The most important aspect, obviously, is the dining experience, and that's the opportunity for us to bring in those rituals, those recurring rituals, to surprise the customer and make his experience memorable. The exit is as important as the arrival because you want to ensure that you're leaving the customer with a lasting impression. At Soho Hospitality, each one of these touch points are meticulously planned and trained every single day. And when you're able to implement all of that and put it into practice, what you essentially do is you touch the human heart. The customer comes, he tries, he buys, he likes, he loves, he shares, he recommends, he posts, he reviews. And if you can do that consistently, it goes from one customer to 100 to 1,000 and to the point where you hit the tipping point and you really don't have to do anything and watch the business unfold. As much as the hardware of the brand is really, really important, the software elements are important as well. And Catherine was talking about that earlier. It's really, really important to humanize your restaurant brand. Think of your brand as a human being and ask these questions. What is the type of person that represents your brand? What is the personality of your brand? What is the messaging that you wish to employ? And what is the tone of voice? At a time in which the advent of AI has resulted in almost double and triple the amount of content that is coming onto the digital world, it's really, really important that we define all of these things so that we can have clarity of communications and messaging so that we can reach our customers with ease. Marketing is super important, and it's really, really critical to go through the whole aspects of marketing strategy, figuring out your content strategy, and ensuring that you're creating content that is going to move the needle. And for all restaurant operators out there, there is no greater impact to restaurant marketing than influencer marketing. Influencer marketing is the biggest form of marketing and provides the best bang for the buck. Data-driven decisions at a time in which data is the new currency. You need to look at performance marketing where there's connectivity between the social media ads, the booking engine, as well as the POS customer spend data so that you can actually understand your return on ad spend. Menu engineering is super important so that you're constantly looking at your menu matrix to push the high popularity, high margin items. Remember, the menu is your real estate. And lastly, there's a lot of data analytics in terms of revenue management so that you can look at revenue per available seat, pricing optimization, demand forecasting, and server performance. These are some projects that we opened recently in Thailand. This was 1 year ago in Bangkok. Got 8 million views from one Instagram story, and it's backed by the same philosophy that I just shared with you, Experience by Design. Apartment 101 is a hybrid nightclub event space. It was inspired by Roy Halston's apartment in the Studio 54 era in the 1970s. It's defined as a hybrid lifestyle-driven event venue. And lastly, we're working really hard to turn this space into a community. Another concept is Yankee Robatayaki, the storytelling behind this brand that's packed every night. It was inspired by Yankees, which are Japanese delinquents that drop out of high school and join a biker gang. The concept is primarily about entertainment dining, and the experience programming is really about gamification, where we play fast-paced Japanese drinking games, and it turns the restaurant into a party, something you might want to experience on your next visit to Bangkok. In terms of Vietnam, we really think that there's a lot of opportunity in the country in terms of the young Gen Z social-first audience, but we see a lot of rapid concept turnover because a lot of these concepts are unsustainable. But in the future, we know that there is a rise of independent brands that are more storytelling and Instagram-led. Here are some trends that are coming into the market: hybrid spaces, third spaces, content-led venues, data-driven operations, and of course, AI-powered marketing. And when we take it all in, experience by design, AI, consumer behavior evolutions, and the shift in marketing, There is one simple truth that holds true. Winning F&B concepts are not created by chance. They're built by master storytellers who know how to touch the human heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rohit. Hope to see more cool clubs and restaurants in Ho Chi Minh City in the upcoming time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving to the final part of today's event, residential and investment talk. We have 5 minutes on residential market brief, and then we have the panel discussion with our expert. So now, please join me in welcome Mr. Dương Bạch from Property Guru Vietnam.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for staying here this late. I know there's a lot of things outside, so thanks for staying and listening to all of us. My team is operating the largest online real estate marketplace in Vietnam, www.damsan.com.vn. We learned a bit about real estate demand, supply, asking price, and how quickly it changes over time. So let me start with the questions. What are your guess? How much residential property price or asking price have changed from Q4 last year to Q1 this year? Any guess? Is it A, increased significantly, what is more than 5%, B, increased moderately, 2 to 4%, remain stable, or decline with more than 3%? Any guess? Just shout, guy. A, C. Okay, so the answer is actually D. Residential property price in Vietnam have declined around 4% in Q1 this year against Q4 last year. However, if you look a little bit deeper into for sale and rental market, each of the market behave quite differently. So if you look at the line chart reflecting the median sale per square meter, you can see that sale price had gone up quite quickly over the years, but it started dipping in Q1 2026. We believe that things like raising mortgage rate, which is around 12 to 14% now, tightening regulations, the geopolitical conflicts in Iran with jacking up gas price all across the country have negatively affected consumer sentiment, with leading to lower buyer demand, and that caused price drop after a long rally. However, if you look at the rental pricings, which basically reflecting the real demand of human, has not been affected by this element yet. This is probably not a surprise to a lot of Vietnamese here. It's showing the demand side of the for sale and for rent marketplace over especially Chinese New Year's. It's obvious that not many Vietnamese are searching for property to rent or to buy during Tết. However, if you look at the cyan line, which is reflecting the rental during Tết, it's a little bit more resilient. Perhaps there are more Vietnamese worrying about changing job, changing rental place during Chinese New Year's or Tết. It's not interesting until you overlay it with the trend over the last few years, right? And one thing I can tell you that the bold red line reflecting 2026, the market has not recovered very well in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the year. The bold line is actually behind the cyan and the pink line reflecting the last 2 years. Feel free to ignore the yellow line reflecting 2023. That was exceptional bad years for residential market. But then if you look at the whole country, I mean, you break it down by geography, you see a different pictures, right? If you look at the bar chart on the left, reflecting the demand into different regions in the country, you split it down to Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, and others. You can see that the demand into Ho Chi Minh have growing quite a bit. In Q1 this year, half of demand in the country actually landing in Ho Chi Minh City, Bình Dương, and Vũng Tàu, while demand in Hanoi, reflecting by the red bar, have declined or shrunk tremendously over the year. Right now, it's only a quarter of Vietnamese consumers are looking for property in Hanoi. If you look at the chart on the left, we're basically where demand have grown the most. Pretty obvious. These are regional, industrial, and tourist hubs. In the north, it would be Hải Phòng and Bắc Ninh. In the center, it would be Huế and Da Nang. And in south, it would be Khánh Hòa. These are all provinces after the merger last year. Zooming in into Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh, pretty quick. Price have dropped a bit in Q1. Demand have bounced back quite nicely after the Tết holiday, especially in Ho Chi Minh City. If we zoom in a little bit more into different property segments, like we segmented into lands, apartment, private house, townhouse, villa, you can see different segments behave a little bit differently. In Ho Chi Minh City, the private house and apartments are where most of the demand land. And both of them recover pretty well after Chinese New Year's. However, in Hanoi, only apartment recover well. And private house, with the yellow line on the right chart, did not bounce back well. We believe probably due to the higher price, higher unit price for apartments. I think people are rushing me out, so this is all I have for today. And if you have any other questions, feel free to find me at the hall or drop me an email at yung@bottomsan.com.vn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yung. We can share on the slide to the audience later after the event. Right now, our team will prepare for the final panel discussion of today's event. Thank you for your patience.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this exciting panel session. Sorry that it's the graveyard shift and we're running a bit late, but we'll try and keep our answers as brief as we can. We're featuring some of Vietnam's most active players in the real estate industry. We all started 2026 full of positivity, with the government focused on continued high economic growth at the beginning of a new 5-year political cycle. Indeed, the residential market in Hanoi in 2025 had been booming. And we're all excited here in Ho Chi Minh City about the series of new launches and approvals that were to come. Tourism numbers had seen record post-COVID performance, and there was strong belief in continued growth. Despite this strong momentum, unfortunately, global events have rather taken over, and we are faced with rising oil prices, renewed inflationary pressures, and a high interest rate environment. Today, our panel will explore whether Vietnam's famous resilience can continue to support the market and what lies in store for Vietnam as we look beyond the current turmoil and towards the years leading up to 2030. So we'll try and keep it positive and take a slightly longer outlook where we can. So I'll kick off. We'll go down the panelists. Please briefly introduce yourselves and then outline what you see as the single biggest driver of Vietnam's real estate growth as we look towards 2030. So maybe, could we start at the far end, Ming? Do you want to go first?
Thank you. My name is Minh, and I'm from Techcombank. And probably you already know Techcombank is one of the well-known residential bank in Vietnam. And right now, we also diversify into infrastructure, industrial real estate, and also the commercial and hospitality real estate market. Right. So for your question, as you already mentioned, that one of the probably bottleneck and also the riskiest challenge to the Vietnamese real estate sector right now is probably the bottleneck in terms of financing. Given the global conflict and what is going on right now, we can see that you already experiencing the high rate, the interest rate already increased to the double digit.
The growth driver to 2030, Ming.
Yes, I tried that. Right. So from that standpoint, we can look at the situation to answer whether this rate high is in terms of more like short-term structure nature or more in the long term, right? So in order to answer that question, we can look at three distinct angles. The first one, if you look at it through the policy standpoint, the global conflict is likely to keep the energy price at a new high level. And that will push the inflation that we estimate. If the oil price is above $100 per barrel, then the inflation might hit between the 5 to 6%, and that leaves little room for the SBV government for the monetary policy to be eased. So that's the first point. The second point is that if you look at in terms of the structural problem with the Vietnamese supply and demand, and you can see that the 80% of the bank deposit is actually in terms of short term, and on the other hand, you can see a lot of big mega scale infrastructure projects are coming, which are long term in the nature. So those two do not go well in the next 5 years. And that's one of the big problems. And if you look at the second problem, also structure, is that the last year statistics show that the deposit growth is only at like 15.4% or something. But the credit of the grid system grows more than 19%. And the 4% between the credit and the deposit is actually very big. And that trend is actually trending into 2026. And that's also one of the reasons why you see the rate has been hiking over the past a few weeks and few months. Right? Okay. And lastly, if you look at from the commercial bank like us, then in a higher risk environment, right now, we tend to behave more conservatively and more careful ways. That means we actively manage our book into more, toward more like stable and generating cash flow sector, and less drive the credit away from more, speculative and capital incentive sector. So that means, unfortunately, the real estate and also especially the hospitality real estate fall into that category. So in short, my view is going to be quite difficult in terms of cost financing and also in terms of the availability of credit for the banking sector over the next maybe 12 or 24 months.
Okay, yeah, I don't disagree with the short-term view. But Lisa Marie, the growth driver towards 2030, after a quick introduction to yourself. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be very quick. So as the design face up on this panel, I'm not going to talk about interest rates, CapExes, etc. So we're a design practice, so we're urban designers, architects, interior designers, and landscape architects, so effectively creative problem solvers. And I think where we see the focus really coming globally is certainly, and most poignantly in Vietnam, for the urban middle class. So that growing rapid urbanization, we're seeing a lot of what we call in Australia TODs, because we love an acronym, so transit-orientated developments. Basically driving density close to amenity and modal hubs is really, really key, and also integrating really multi-tiered programming developments so that you're creating precincts of place, scale, and amenity. That's what's driving, we see. Yeah.
Thank you. Son.
Hi, my name is Sun, and I'm the chairman of Tanzanite. We're the developer of the Milia Ho Cham, and we own about 2 kilometers of beachfront land in Ho Cham. And we've been there for about 14 years now, and we hope that over the next, we're launching a new project called the Indochine by Milia, and we hope to build another 3 or 4 resorts over the next 5 years. It's been a bit negative today. As a developer, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through tariffs, now the Iran war. High interest rates, high inflation, banking system, the story is the same every single couple of years. If we look through all of this noise, the next 5 years will be transformational for Vietnam. We're looking at 8 to 10% GDP growth. We're looking at some of the biggest infrastructure investment in Vietnam's history. We're looking at one of the fastest growing middle class in the world. And we're looking at China moving to Vietnam. So look through the short-term noise and look towards the next 3 to 5 years. For us, being in Ho Chi Minh, the most transformational event is the airport. It will change everything. It will change Ho Chi Minh, it will change the southern economy, and most importantly for us, it will change Ho Chi Minh.
Thank you, Song. Great positivity, loving it. Richard.
Oh, good evening. My name is Richard Leach. I'm a Deputy CEO at Fulong. Fulong is an urban developer. We build integrated townships primarily and all the lifestyle components of that, education, health, commercial, etc. And we are part of the Savills Group. Savills Group is one of the leading private investment groups in the country. Savills is the major shareholder of Vietjet Air, which is the largest airline by passengers in the country, and HD Bank, and Vicky Digital Bank, and Galaxy Innovation. So you know where Fulong fits in. In terms of the drivers, then the obvious answer would be the FDI into manufacturing, which has always been and is continuing to be. But more on a real estate perspective, it's the infrastructure that's enabling us to develop townships and create the access that people can buy in and live in these townships that we develop. Obviously, the demographics, as been mentioned, helps an enormous amount, and obviously, because we are the owner of 13 five-star hotels, the tourism figures have also driven people from our airlines into our resorts as well.
Thank you, Richard. Lucas.
Thanks. It's, Lucas Low from Nam Long Group. Just a word different from Fulong. Anyway, we are a mid-sized listed real estate development company that focus on integrated township and also on the social housing as well as the affordable range of residential development. We've been around for the last 33 years now. So among the kind of real estate development company in Vietnam. Anyway, our view is fairly similar to the other two developers. I think we remain optimistic over the next 5 years. Fundamentally, it's because we believe that there's not enough houses or residential houses that meet the present living requirement of the Vietnamese people at this very moment. So with the infrastructure development, with the so-called the continuing economic growth, take away some of the noises that we hear recently about oil prices, interest rate and all that. We believe the next 5 years, there will be a lot of demand that will be probably shifted away from the core central of Ho Chi Minh to the surrounding area, where people are in seek of different living lifestyle in the township and all that. So all this will be, to us, fundamental real demand for the residential market. And that will, in a way, provide the resilience in the market despite some of the challenges that we're facing probably over the last few years, including recently this year. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Lucas. Angus.
Hi, I'm Angus Liu from Gamuda Land. We are a 50-year-old company. Before the war, I think we are worth $7.5 billion US. But yesterday is $6 billion US. There's a bit of a drop, but it's the right time to buy. So for us, we call ourselves a town maker. We do township. We are also infrastructure builders. We build infrastructures in Vietnam, in Malaysia, in Australia, and also UK. And the short answer to your questions on the growth driver, I think, is the Vietnamese government and their push for double-digit growth in GDP this year.
Great, thanks, Angus. I'm going to stick with you, Angus. Gamuda have enjoyed some considerable success identifying, developing, and launching projects in the last few years. Can you reveal some of the secrets of your success? Because it's not easily done.
Yeah, it's a bit of a secret recipe to tell you a bit of that. So for us, we always call ourselves a town maker. We come in as a township developer, very much like Nam Long. But the real success for these few years is actually our dual engine growth. What we are doing now, instead of just concentrating on township development, we also work on QTP, the quick turnaround projects. So these quick turnaround projects, let me explain, is we look for projects that we can complete within 5 to 7 years. And this is a good mix for our township, which we need a little bit longer time for it to mature to gain the revenue. So the strategy has been working quite well, especially when the market is good. QTP play a very important role. But when the market is not good, there is a time when our township development comes into play. Of course, we cannot have this strategy work out without a good talent that we have developed along the years. In Vietnam, we have almost 450 staff, and it's a good mixture of international talent and local Vietnamese talent. Sometimes we call ourselves Wagyu beef pho. We are foreign ingredients but local flavor. So it's a good mixture. But other than that, I think the third factor will be our special DNA that we have. We look into a lot of our special DNA, like biophilic design. Also, we concentrate a lot in the quality of our project. I think we are the first one here to use Singapore Conquest system, which is like an examination system for all the buildings that we are building. And one more thing is that we might be the first one to do e-auction in the market so that we get the best value for our customer. So I think all this is part of the secret recipe of our success here.
Thank you for revealing some of the secrets. Richard, I'm going to move to you. Phu Long have active development projects throughout the country. Maybe some thoughts on where you anticipate the strongest growth over the next 12, 24, 36 months?
Yeah, in terms of township development, then it would be in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, the expanded versions. Ho Chi Minh City, particularly to the south in Nha Be, mainly because of the infrastructure that's going south, Ring Road 3, etc. And then into the east of Ho Chi Minh City as well, which may be slightly higher priced, but the south is, Saigon South is catching up. In the north, then to the west, again along the Metro Line 5. So we kind of hug the metro lines where we develop. And I'd imagine on from a hospitality perspective, then we have a couple of hundred square meters, a couple of hundred hectares in Phu Quoc, and would be developing there as well.
Great, thank you. Lucas, I'm going to corner you a bit on the capital markets side as the local listed representative. Where do you think capital's going to come from? What's the best strategy in the coming years? Is it joint ventures? Is it tying up with other local players? Is it indirect investment? And maybe some